Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Shonen and Chill, number 11. Today's kind of a big episode. Last week was pretty relaxed. Today, there's some shit going on. We've
There's some
got
stuff happening.
both Shibuya and whatever the hell the My Hero arc is called are
Uh,
both winding down
yep.
to like literally like it's time to be over now, winding down, not
hmm
winding down like they have been for the past 2 months. Um, and there's some other good stuff. It was a sad, lonely week without Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, I was that's kind of excited to read Chainsaw Man before I remembered that we live in the worst timeline.
Post Chainsaw Man world. But don't
Oh
worry,
my
we have
god.
Dragon Ball Super and Boruto to fill the gap.
We have yes, we do.
So
We of course
let's
do.
let's just
Uh,
jump in. What were your top three of the week?
um my number one was Jujutsu Kino-sen. My number two was My Hero Academia, back in the ranking again. My number three was Mashle, I think.
Okay, that's a good
Now I
list.
actually have to strain with my number three because I can't just automatically say Chainsaw Man anymore.
Yeah, it's not an automatic guaranteed top three anymore. You have to think about it.
My God, one of our big three just left. I
I
can't believe
know, I know. The show's in trouble already.
it. Number is declining. Sad.
Sad. So my top three were, of course, Jujutsu Kaisen number one. Number two would also be My Hero Academia, and then my number three, I had Undead Unluck this week. Actually,
Hmm.
I think it's the
Okay.
first time it's ever been in my ranking. It was close between Undead Unluck, Mashle, and Doctor Stone. They were all pretty good,
hmm
um, but I went with Undead Unluck this week.
All right. I mean, do we want to start with that then, since it seems to be the, I suppose, odd one out?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start with that one. It was kind of the continuation of what they had been doing last time, which is fighting Andy's evil half. I guess he is
hmm
Victor. I'm not 100%
Yep.
sure what kind of weird relationship the two of them have.
I don't think
Um,
we've found out exactly what Victor is. He's just
yeah,
like a
yeah, he's just
powerful guy.
super strong evil Andy, I guess.
hmm
But they're like aware of each other. I'm sure they'll explain it eventually.
hmm
But they elaborate a lot on Andy's powers in a really cool way,
hmm
where he always would like recover himself from his head, like he would regenerate his body out of his head. But it turns
hmm
out he doesn't need to do that, so
hmm
he can just regen out of whatever part he wants to. And
hmm
they did a cool little combo move where he fired each of his fingers charged with her unlock powers, and they would each go off
Yeah.
one at a time. It was a really cool combination move, and I also just think they're kind of cute now.
Yeah, right? Like
They're just kind of
before
cute
you
now.
before you know it, you're actually kind of rooting for them, which is just
Yeah,
the weirdest thing.
yeah. I almost am like, should I find them cute from how it started off? But like, I don't know. It's just there's no air of any of that stuff anymore, and now they're just kind of a cute couple. They also
Yeah, I mean,
spelled Victor weird in this. Did they always spell it that way?
no, I think that was new in this chapter. He calls him Vic Thor, like, which is
Yeah,
almost
there's
making me
an
believe.
H in it.
Yeah, it's almost gonna make me believe that we're gonna get into like Norse mythology because it seems really specific.
Yeah, it was just weird because I think they've always called him Victor, just spelled normally
Yeah, Victor.
prior to this. So that was weird.
Yeah, and I
But
don't
this
think they
chapter also
changed it.
felt a little bit more grounded in comparison to like the weirdly, really weird, crazy shit we had been doing for the past few weeks. The
Yeah,
little
yeah,
internal Victor fight is just kind of. It was cute. I don't know. I liked it. It was a good fight, and it was also cute, which is nice.
yeah. I mean, for the last couple of weeks, I feel like Undead Unluck has very much been, oh, we're going through the layers of time, space, memory, and we have to unlock the Kingdom Hearts.
Yes,
it's
very
been
much
kind of
so.
it's been kind of like a bunch of gibberish, which is hard to appreciate on a weekly read. But this week was very much just concrete. Person A needs to punch person B really hard, and that is raw. Like that is something we can just appreciate in a moment, and I think that's what Undead Unluck really needed. Which is weird because before this timey shitty arc happened. It's not shitty. It's just my English is bad. Um, Before this time arc happened, one of the big selling points of Undead Unluck was, hey, it gets really weird after its really uncomfortable start. But now it actually does going back on the weirdness and being just like, okay, just have a regular shonen fight with some cool choreography and some cool combo moves. That's actually something I've personally been waiting for a bit. Because, yeah, like the last couple of weeks had been kind of bordering on incoherence, where it's like, what am I even reading? Like, why are you 7 layers deep in like time travel and whatnot, and it just starts getting deeper. Like, what is happening, right?
Yeah, it felt like they were 7 layers deep in something when they hadn't even adequately explained the second layer yet. And
Yes,
so they were
yes,
just going, and shit was happening. And after a while, like you said, it was almost incoherent gibberish for a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
They really, it's nice to have turned that around. And there was that little flashback where like a young version of the current leader, I guess, was like in
Oh
love
yeah,
with
yeah.
his evil self. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm sure that'll come up later because why would you throw that little spread in there otherwise?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Which, I mean, I suppose it's just like foreshadowing for where we're going next.
Probably. But
Yeah.
either way, it was nice to one. It was a good, clean, simple fight. It wasn't like because Undead Unluck tends to have a lot of like crazy team fights. There's not a
Hmm.
whole lot of great one-on-one stuff, and so this was a very good one-on-one fight. It was well
Hmm.
choreographed. The art was really good. The panel with the crashing plane is crazy.
Hmm.
Um, it was just yeah, it was good. One of my favorite chapters of the series, if not my favorite
Okay.
one, probably.
All right. Yeah, I mean, speaking of art, I think Undead Unluck is consistently really good in the art department. I think out of all the manga that are currently running in Jump, it is the one that has changed the least in artwork quality from the start. But that's not a bad thing because it already started looking pretty gorgeous.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say that sounds about right to me.
yeah, and I think it was last week when the fight started where there were like 4 spreads back to back, which is kind of crazy. And I felt like during this chapter, while there weren't as many spreads, there definitely were still a lot of pages that had a lot of like visual impact. And doing like these crazy impactful pages while still being visually clear is something that, you know, we often see other mangaka struggle with. So it's really nice to see one that can A, do it with seeming ease, and B, do it so consistently throughout now what, 44 weeks? Like, yeah, at this
45.
point, 45 even, wow. Yeah, because like at this point, a lot of other manga, if you like start at chapter 1 and then go up to chapter 45 or 44, you start already seeing like a shift in art style. That's tendentially where it also starts happening. Um, and you can see it with My Hero, you can see it with Jujutsu Kaisen. Uh, I can't even remember if you see it with Chainsaw Man, but honestly, like, Chainsaw Man is just so far removed from the standard. Like,
Yeah, it's kind of in
we
a
can
world of its own.
yeah, exactly. We can neglect that. Like Fujimoto's just like he's just vibing. But yeah, like I do really appreciate how consistent Undead Unluck has been. I really hope it doesn't suffer an art dip, which is always possible, but actually surprisingly rare in weekly Shonen Jump at least. I can't remember if I've ever seen like a drastic art dip of any of the series I've been reading weekly.
Hunter x Hunter.
Though, well, okay, Hunter x Hunter is a special case.
Gonna get in trouble for
Hunter
saying that.
Hunter x Hunter is a special case, and I don't believe I ever actually kept up with it weekly.
All right,
So
that's fair. That's fair.
then again, what does weekly even mean?
Yeah,
In
one
that
weekly means 1 week a year for like 10 years.
exactly. um, okay. Uh, what do we want to talk about next?
Let's move
What's
to
on your mind?
your number 3. Let's do Mashle next.
Ah, bet. Mashle is just really cute. Like these dumb idiots are really adorable to me. I can't remember half of their names, but I'm like, yeah, you go, person with crazy hair. You're cute. I like you.
Yeah, I
Like
don't
I
remember
gen
everyone's name. I remember Mash, I remember Lance, and Lemon. That's
Okay,
it.
you already know one more than I do. I don't know who Lemon is, but
Lemon is the girl.
ah,
The only girl of the team.
you go, Lemon. You're cute too. But yeah, like it's just the last couple of chapters have kind of felt very much like in between chapters after the like big fight that they had with the puppet master guy. And this chapter is kind of the first one that really steps back into an actual, I guess, narrative direction where it's like, hey, Harry Potter is now going to start sending people after them, and we're going to have a couple of crazy fights while they start preparing for the divine visionary selection. Um, it was just a nice little carryover chapter, like the scene where they go to Mash's grandpa, and they're all like presenting themselves as his friends. Like it's obviously played for laughs for the most part, but it is actually kind of moving. Like when the grandpa says, like, "Oh, I couldn't ever let Mash out because he might get discovered. So to see him have friends like this, I hope these days never end." It's like, man, I shouldn't feel like this reading a dumb gag manga. What is this?
Yeah, yeah. It's another chapter that just kind of highlights what I feel like we've always been saying about Mashle is that it's kind of riding the line between
Mm-hmm.
like a gag manga and a real, like genuine one. Like the next week's chapter is gonna be a pretty badass fight between a guy that we already know is a badass and a guy that we are
Mm-hmm.
certainly led to believe is one.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that. I really like Cool Brother. I don't know. He's the brother of the dweeb that's Mash's first
Mm-hmm.
friend, but he's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no. Mashle is just such a special series at this point. I really, really hope it ends up getting that anime because I feel like a lot of it could work really well in motion.
Oh yeah, I think it would be great for anime. Everything, even like in still images in a manga, it's all very fluid. I
Mm-hmm.
love the pages also where all of the panel line breaks are music notes from the
Yes,
crazy
yes,
guy playing like an organ or a piano or whatever he's playing.
yes. That's so true. That's so good. And also, the new guy, I really do like how he's introduced, where he's like, "Oh, I won't get my hands dirty for just any old thing. It has to be interesting." And while he's like eating his fucking tempura shrimp, and then Harry Potter is like, "Hey, so he beat like this super powerful guy," and he's like, "Oh, that's interesting, I guess. Without magic, what?" And then he rushes off.
Yeah, he
Like,
immediately leaves.
yeah, like that's cool. It like contextualizes just how crazy Mash really is, which I think sometimes gets lost in just all the jokes. Where it's like, oh haha, he's so strong without magic. And then you have chapters like these that remind you, wait a minute, that is like genuinely impressive.
Yeah, that's a big deal that he's actually
Yeah.
that strong without magic.
And it also characterizes the new guy really well, where it's like, okay, he is kind of crazy, but crazy for power, and he's not like he isn't like arrogant about it because it's not like, oh, I don't believe it, how could he have done this. It's more like, oh my god, that is so cool, let me go beat him. you
Yeah,
know
pretty much. It's
it's
like that. That's awesome. I have to go fight him because that's
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. That's cool. Like Mashal, the thing with Mashal is, though, that I struggle with a bit is that I never have like all that much to say about like any one chapter because they all tend to kind of sit in that sweet spot region where it's good. Everything it's doing is like really enjoyable. I'm having fun, but I'm not really there with like, my cerebral frontal lobe working at 200% trying to understand what's happening. I'm having fun with it, but I sometimes, especially like since we're doing this podcast, I sometimes feel like, oh, I kind of don't have much to say, even though I had a lot of fun, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know
Mashal
if you
does
feel the
kind of
same.
always fall in that like that was enjoyable anyway, like category
Yeah.
of. But I think that kind of is a strength of it. I don't know that I would love if I had to really sit down and analyze my half battle shonen, half gag manga series every week.
Uh,
It's nice to have one that you can just kind of read and it's dope and that's it.
yeah, I think that's fair. Um, since we're talking about how we don't have much to say about Mashal, maybe this is the perfect time to move on. Uh,
Yep.
what's what's on your heart, Zen? What do you want to talk to me
Let's
about?
let's go ahead and do My Hero Academia next, since that was our universal number two.
Okay, bet. Let me unbutton my shirt real quick because I'm about to get heated. Um,
Uh-oh.
I actually genuinely unbuttoned my shirt. It's really hot here. um, It was good. I liked it. Like, I've seen people say that they're really disappointed with how anticlimactic this ending is, and I'm like, yeah, like it's anticlimactic in a way, but I don't mind because we have been having climactic chapters for like the last 5 weeks, despite really not having earned it. So I'm fine with
Well, plus
the
this
arc
ending kind of
ending.
had to be because what else would you
Yeah,
do? It's the main bad guy against the main good guy. You can't have
yeah,
a decisive like ending, or else the series is over.
exactly. And I do like I'll get into the whole all for one stuff in a bit, but I do like how his reasoning for ending the arc is literally you guys have been going at this for so long and there's just no point anymore. Like no one is going to progress anymore at this point. I'm ending this shit. Which feels really meta considering what we've been saying for the last couple of weeks.
How much we've been
Is
saying it, it's just dragging on. Yeah.
yeah, like all for one's been watching this podcast very carefully.
He said if
He's
the
like
chapters keep going any longer, our review scores are gonna start dipping on Shonen and Chill. I gotta wrap it up. I can't have my favorite podcasts disliking these chapters.
He's like, oh, they do have a point, man. Yeah, but yeah, like overall, I'm fine with the arc ending like this. I think it makes sense, like in universe, because it really had become like a worthless battle of attrition at this point. There was nothing more that could be gained because Shigaraki was definitely not in a condition to like do much more. Dabi has pretty much already done most of the damage by himself. The league is falling apart. The Nomus were probably going to get killed at some point, even though they could have taken out more heroes for sure. And it, yeah, like I think in a way it actually characterizes All for One really nicely as like this really pragmatic, tactical guy, where it's like, yeah, like we could do a lot more senseless destruction, but at this point, it wouldn't. No one would benefit from it. Like Shigaraki would be using up his body that's already battered for no good reason that doesn't benefit me. So let me just pull the plug real quick. Which, as I said, anticlimactic maybe, but definitely reasonable in the context. I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that the chapter is. I mean, obviously, I don't hate that it's ending because I've been asking for it to do that for a while. I don't love the. I had a feeling it was going to go this way. I really don't love the oh my god, I have to save everyone, and that includes Shigaraki thing. That kind of, I don't love that. Um, but I like the rest
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. The
Um,
whole "you looked like you needed saving" thing.
I just don't love that. I don't want Shigaraki to live happily ever after.
Nah, me neither. But I kind of don't feel like he will. I feel like this is because here's the thing, right? Hori is a very outspoken author. He makes too many interviews. Honestly, in my opinion, he says too much shit. But the good part about that is that we often have a good idea of what he's thinking. And he did relatively recently say that Shigaraki, in his eyes, is irredeemable. So, like, looking at that, I do feel like he's probably not going to get his sunset ending where he's happy on a farm. Um, like, what this is probably leading into is Deku having to accept that some people are beyond help. Like, that's kind of what I'm feeling here, but honestly, I don't know anymore. Like,
Yeah, I
Hori
keep
has
I
done
keep
it to
thinking
me.
like, oh, this is what we're gonna do, and then it's not that, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
we're doing this
I
other
mean,
thing that I might like less than what I thought it was gonna be. But I don't know. As
yeah.
long as they don't try to like redeem him, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. Like if we get like Shigaraki seeing the light, I want it to be done in the way that the Endeavor thing is done, where it's like very clearly aware of how bad that shit was, and of like how basically impossible it is to completely redeem yourself for that, and that all they can do is try and atone. And honestly, I wouldn't even want Shigaraki to go that far. I would want at most Shigaraki to regret the way he lived moments before he dies. Like I think that's the most I can give him, but anything beyond that would kind of feel spineless. Like it would kind of feel like, oh, this character's popular. Let me have him be good, and I don't like that. I don't like having the feeling that a series is being written by the fans' reactions, if that
Right.
makes sense.
No, yeah,
Like it's
definitely.
yeah. Speaking of fan reactions, my reaction specifically. Oh boy, when I first saw that page of All for One's face popping out of Shigaraki, that sure was an emotion I haven't felt in a while. Of like sheer, like unbridled. Oh my god, why are you doing this? Because that's like my biggest fear that All for One will just become the final villain. I hate that so much, and it makes zero sense. But when I first saw that page, I was like, oh no. But luckily, that is not what happens. That is decidedly not what this scene implies, because again, a lot of what All for One's been doing makes no sense if now he's suddenly gonna be like, I want to use Shigaraki as a flesh suit. It's like so much
Yeah,
about
I would very much like it if we didn't start using Shigaraki as a meat puppet.
yeah,
Um, I don't know.
but
I
like
kind of wish All for One was not even here for this. I guess it makes sense that he has to be because of the whole like, oh, he's a chrysalis still thing. Like
hmm,
he's not mature yet or whatever. But like, I feel like All Might and All for One's time is over now,
yeah,
and it's time for Shigaraki and Deku to be the product of their ideals and hash that shit out on their own while also kind of moving it in their own direction. Like, I just don't want. All Might is gone, and that's good, and he's been gone, and they're still bringing
hmm,
this fucking eyeless piece of shit back into this fucking series.
yeah, yeah,
Just go back to jail where you belong, stay there. I know you're still there, but somehow you're also not there, and just fuck off.
yeah. Like I definitely hope, and I think it actually has a good chance of happening. Is what I hope is that Shigaraki ends up killing All for One, because it just seems like that's the direction this is going. Because All for One is trying to have way more influence than Shigaraki wants him to have, and like after this, it's definitely clear. It should be clear to Shiggy that All for One is much more intrusive than he might have thought. And I mean, considering that Shiggy tried to decay him in the like vestige world when we were there a couple of months ago, and that he was actively resisting his influence, I think the next like big villain arc is going to be breaking into prison to save a maybe still living compress. Like I don't fucking know what that's gonna be like. And Toga and possibly Makia and dusting All for One. Like that's I feel like that's what this is leading into.
I would
Because
very much like that.
yeah, because that's the thing, right? All for One needs to go. Like you're absolutely on the money. He just needs to leave. But he won't as long as he's in that stupid prison. Like all he can do as long as he's in that stupid prison is to break out of prison, which just makes him more of a factor in the story, which not good. So what I'm thinking what'll happen is that because now the heroes have captured Toga, they have captured Compress, who may or may not die, um, and they seemingly have captured Makia, who is powerless as long as no one gives him a direct order. Um, and I can imagine that All for One will be like, "Hey, how about you come bust me out of prison? And even if you don't want to, your friends are in prison, namely Toga and Compress. Isn't that fucky, haha?" And Shiggy pretends to go along with his plan, goes to prison, like seemingly busts his friends out, including All for One, then he dusts him. Like that's kind of what I'm feeling here. But you know, in my predictions, Hori also delivered on Mirio and Eri properly, and we both know history has proven me a fool, a
Yeah,
dumb
that's the scary
idiot.
part, right? Is like I kind of like the ending, but I didn't love everything about it, and now we're kind of
Yeah,
moving into uncharted territory here,
yeah,
and it could go
yeah,
either way. It could be good or it could be bad.
yeah. Like I do definitely think like I'm not gonna be too conclusive on this arc yet because a lot of this arc also still depends on the aftermath, right? Like what happens now with society. Do we actually get consequences, or is everyone just gonna be like, "Oh, Endeavor's not that bad," and "Oh, Deku, your arms are twisted, but that's okay.
I'm
Eri can
forced to
touch you."
assume we're going to get some because the last shot of the chapter is just the fucked city.
Yeah,
It's not any character. It's not Deku like screaming into the sky or whatever about how he's gonna save Shigaraki. It's just holy crap, look at all of this garbage, and now it's done.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, honestly, like these last couple of weeks, especially with MHA, have been very eye-opening for me in the sense of that I could just not trust this series as much as I thought I could. I don't know if you've caught that, but Horikoshi actually announced that MHA is apparently heading towards its conclusion.
Really?
Yeah, Jump Festa this weekend.
I did not. I didn't. All I saw from Jump Festa was the 3-minute preview of next week's Jujutsu Kaisen episode, and I've
Of
just been
course,
comatose ever since until today. So
you have risen just for this
yes,
podcast.
the new chapter came out and it brought me back to life.
I really appreciate you coming here and not immediately returning to your hibernation. But yeah, apparently, well, his exact words are, "I guess the manga will be or I guess the ambiguous it, will be heading into its conclusion soon." Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like,
Well, yeah. What
a
is
manga,
soon? The series has been out since like 2012. What is soon? Is that
yeah,
next arc or is that 3 years from now?
yeah. I mean, there's some people who are like, "Oh, he clearly means that." He clearly means that MHA Part 1 is ending.
Oh, for
And
God's
it's like,
sake.
oh, like okay, come on. Now you're just primed by Chainsaw Man. Not every series gets a Part 2.
I mean, I'm sure if
But
he wanted it to have a part 2, it would get one.
mhm.
Like, I don't see Jump being like, oh, our like third most profitable series running in the magazine right now. No, you may not have a part 2. Um, but I don't know that it needs one. I think the whole
Yeah,
point of the story was how he becomes the number one hero, and I don't know that showing us like, oh, this is just the shit he's doing now that he's the number one hero, like, is that useful? Or there's much of a
yeah,
story to tell there, I guess. I don't
yeah. I
know.
mean,
I think
the
there's way
only
too
thing I
much for it
can
to be ending like soon though. Like there's a lot left that needs to be dealt with.
yeah, exactly, right? That's my main problem with that statement where it's like you just can't end it right now. Like there's too much up in the air. The two main characters, Shigaraki and Deku, are nowhere near the point where they could carry a conclusion, right?
Deku
They're
only
still
has like 3 of the quirks
well,
because he just got spider sense today.
yeah. Although I do like that. I do like it because it actually was one of those things that was sort of predicted by people a couple of weeks ago in like a couple of posts where everyone was like, "Oh, you're reaching," and now it being confirmed is actually really cool because every time he went rage mode over the last couple of chapters, there was this weird jagged line at the top of every single panel he does it in, and people were like, "Oh, this is like a quirk activating," and everyone's like, no, like of course not." And now we know it was a quirk activating. It was the danger sense,
Which is
and I mean,
literally spider sense. Like, wow.
yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Not that you
I
can't
do.
have like a precognitive danger sense, but damn, it sure does seem like it's spider sense 1 for 1.
I mean, Spider-Man is his favorite hero, so you know, guess it was
Oh my
bound to
god, he
happen.
can shoot webs and he's got a spider sense now.
Yep, yep.
Son of a bitch.
Horikoshi just is mad that he didn't get to write and draw the Marvel mangas.
He's pissed.
but but yeah, no, I do like that. I do like that because the way it's described, it's more like it's not that you sense danger for yourself, you just sense danger like ambiguously, which honestly with Deku, I could imagine could be interesting if it's like if he can feel that other people are in danger but he can't help them. That might be interesting for his character, but again, I'm not gonna try and
Well, if
predict
it
shit
gets as much
anymore.
screen time as Float and Black Whip have, it will do nothing from now on for his
That is also
character.
true. I mean, oh my god, you just remind me of Float.
Yeah,
Now I'm
he can
angry
do that
again.
now. He can
Now I'm
float
angry.
too,
That was so dumb. What was the point of that?
just so
Like,
they could have a cool shot where he's flying, I
yeah,
guess.
just so they could have us. Okay, I suppose the narrative point was, oh, we can't let Shigaraki touch the ground because he'll attack. He'll use decay again. It's
So
like,
we need
okay,
a reason
fine.
for Deku to be able. Hey, you know what? Have Uraraka touch him.
Yeah,
That's her whole
literally
thing.
have someone do something. Like literally.
It's really funny to me that Deku just keeps getting like better versions of his friend's powers.
What? Because Black Whip is like Sero's tape, but
It's
way
Sarah's
better.
tape, and then he shot it out of his mouth like her tongue.
Like Tsuyu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he can fly, like he can float, like Uraraka can make someone float, but he can also like just fly on his own with
Mhm.
it. It's just fucking.
Jesus
He's
Christ.
he's as fast like Ida, but he's also strong as shit. So Ida is useless.
Yeah, actually, now that you're saying,
I
one
can't wait
for
for him to
all.
get the next new quirk, which is just I can make explosions, but they're really bigger even.
I can make explosions, but actually, what it is, it's that I shoot fire that at the point of contact
That
causes explosions,
explodes.
but also ice.
And yeah, I can breathe ice. Also, I can turn intangible, but I don't lose my clothing or my sight.
Also, I can grow multiple arms, but I'm not stuck looking ugly.
And I have a stand, but it's not weak to light.
Deku just develops Gold Experience Requiem. Just out of nowhere.
He's in the final battle with All for One, and time just starts rewinding.
It was very brave of Horikoshi to draw like the entire final battle just in like the JoJo art style.
The whole thing. Deku's
Yeah.
suddenly tall and super thin.
Oh my god. But yeah, you're right. He is. Man, I, I kind of like the six quirks thing less and less by the chapter at this point. Because like when it happened, I was like, okay, he can do some cool shit with it. And then he didn't do any cool shit with it. He's only like insulted his character's intelligence at this point with it. That's the main thing Black Whip has done. It's
Well,
like,
it's just
oh,
weird because like the danger sense, I can see him like going under the radar, right? Of like
mm-hmm,
that's just an internal thing that no one else would be aware of.
mm-hmm,
So there's no reason to question it. But like super strength doesn't mean you can hover.
yeah,
If it was like Superman flight, I guess he could be like, "Oh, I'm super strong jumping real hard." And
uh-huh,
everyone would be like, "Oh, okay." But he can just hover,
mm-hmm,
which no amount of super strength can do that unless you're kicking your legs like Mash in the chapter where he's learning to fly on a broom. And then the Black Whip is literally no amount of super strength makes you shoot dark energy tendrils out of your hands.
yeah,
Fuck,
and
they
that's the
even look
one.
like Tokiyami's fucking bird. I hate it here. I hate it
But
here.
that's the thing, right? Black Whip is the one that's the hardest to just accept under the same quirk theory, but it's the one everyone has already accepted in universe. Like
Yeah, they seem to have no problem with it. No one, even Endeavor is like, oh, neat, okay. So anyway, let's.
that is so dumb. Like the more I think about it, that is so
And
dumb.
they made such a big deal about keeping the secret so that no one would ever know about it. But then
Mm-hmm.
Deku's like, hey, look at my 17 quirks. I have all of these.
Oh man, like
Because most people don't even know that he's All Might's like protege, except like
yeah,
a few in the know. Like, does Endeavor even know that about One for
no,
All? I don't think he
no.
does.
Endeavor has no clue what One for All is. He now knows there is something within Deku that's called One for All, but he doesn't know what it is yet.
Because like the only characters up to this point that know are like Mirio and Bakugo, right? And I guess
I
Eri.
don't even think Mirio he knows something is there, but I think he's like Endeavor. He doesn't exactly know what it is because when Deku presents him with the idea of, hey, if I could transfer my quirk to you, Mirio is like, haha, that's weird. Why are you talking about that? So I don't think Mirio actually knows. I think it's really only Bakugo, and
Well,
then
and
some of
Night
the
Eye's
adults.
dead, and then
Night
like the
Eye's dead.
teaching staff, I guess, knows. There's some of them.
Well, no, not the teaching staff knows about All Might's condition, or they knew before it became public. But about One for All, the only adults I know that know it are Nezu and Tsukauchi. I think.
What about
Like
Gran
everyone
Torino,
else. Oh yeah, of course, Gran Torino. Yes.
if he's alive?
Oh my God, watch him be alive. Watch us
I
just
am
get.
getting a sinking feeling in my stomach that a lot of these characters are not going to die.
Yeah, yeah. I'm starting to feel like the only like casualty of note in this in this war will have been twice,
Yeah, I think
which is
Compress is gonna live. His last line was a joke, and I don't think they're gonna kill a character off on a gag line.
yes, especially after his like big reveal.
Yeah, I literally think the only one that dies here is Twice.
Shonen does it again.
It's just, uh,
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
didn't
think I
need
said
like a
it.
cavalcade of bodies, but at least one that wasn't Twice.
Yeah, like there is like this.
Hawks was being burned alive for like 8 minutes straight.
Yeah, and he's fine,
He's
or he
okay.
probably will be
He's
fine.
just
Yeah,
sleeping. He's taking a
yeah.
nap.
But the thing is, right? Killing people off does not equal good writing, no matter how much Game of Thrones one watches, right? But I do think that when you have these like big climax arcs, you do kind of need to show your audience that you're serious about them and that we can actually, lose people. And
Yeah, well, because like look
you
at the
know,
last shot of the chapter of that like absolutely obliterated city. And you're telling
yeah.
me that nobody like I'm not gonna I don't want to get preemptively mad about this because we could be wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
like you're telling me that every single main character comes out of that with nothing more than a bruised ego and Endeavor lost a lung, which is the condition Best Genius has right now. So like he's still gonna be fine eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Ah man.
Yeah, it's just classic MHA where it's like there's a billion ways this could go bad, and I just hope to God he doesn't go to the million bad ways.
Yeah,
But
like Night Eye fucking died, bro. He got stabbed in the gut, and it perfectly punctuated that arc of like, oh, Deku needs to be a big kid because this shit is serious.
yeah,
And if they have
although
an even bigger battle and everyone's like, ah, man, my ribs, I'm gonna be really annoyed.
oh my God, Night Eye died for like a mid-tier climax arc, but then no one dies in like big
In the
climactic.
battle against the
Yeah,
big bad, no one's gonna die. Gran Torino has to die, dude. Please tell me he's dead. If
he
we cut to
just
next week and he's got like a little tiny Yoda crutch, and he's like, my chest. He's so fucking annoyed.
he got impaled.
Impaled, and then it's been like, what, 20 chapters since then?
Yeah,
He's just
and
laying there bleeding.
it's like dog.
And we
The
haven't even
chapter,
seen him since then. So we haven't been seeing, like, because, like, this week we had the Bakugos passed out on the ground bleeding reaction shots. We
yeah,
haven't gotten any Gran Torino reaction shots since he got knifed.
yeah.
So he's got to be dead, man. Just don't.
I
He's
hope
got to be
so.
dead.
I What I would kind of find cool is if they would like be like, hey, let's recover people. Haha, Gran Torino's just hurt, and then they realize he's been dead for like a decent while, and they've been protecting a body. That I would find cool, because that would be one of those things where like, hey, death doesn't wait around for you; it just happens. Um, you know, uh, we'll have to see. Like he got impaled. I feel like that's the thing is right. Gran Torino pretty much got the exact same injury that ended up killing Night Eye.
Right, and yeah,
And
Night Eye was hooked up to all that, like, 900,000 machines, and he still died.
yes, and also Night Eye was a man in his prime. Gran Torino is like a billion years old. But then again, we're applying real biology to
Yeah,
cartoon
I
stuff.
mean, it's just, does Horikoshi want him to die from his wound or not? That's what makes him die from it. So,
It's like
I hope he does.
it's like next week we skip forward in time and Gran Torino is there and he just has like a big, like comically smooth hole in his chest and like a floating like kitty plaster in the middle. And no one mentions it. That's just how he looks now. It's his new design. You can see through him.
It's fine. We shoved all the organs to the side.
Yeah. No,
Everything's
you
still
see,
pumping in there.
his hero reflexes made it so that his heart and lungs perfectly dodged the attack inside of his body.
All of his organs shifted, so it was just meat that got hit.
Oh my god, have you aren't like up to date with Attack on Titan, right?
I have not even. I read 20 chapters of it and stopped.
Okay. There's a case where someone gets like stabbed through the neck in like into their brain and they survive, and the like explanation is they use their Titan powers to transfer their consciousness from their brain into like their spine. Like that's what I'm thinking now with Gran Torino. Just like, I transferred my heart into my ass cheek.
Yeah, my heart and brain each went into one ass cheek, and I'm fine.
uh wait a minute. Wasn't wasn't there a Yu Yu Hakusho villain who could like shift around his organs and
Elder
stuff?
Toguro, yeah, his entire body was
Yeah.
malleable.
Yeah, right, okay. I was just had like a weird image in my head, and I was like, wait a minute, where is that from? This is gonna bother me tonight if I don't find out. Um, but yeah, like My Hero is fine. Like I think this arc is still going to be among my favorites. Like not as passionately favorite as some others, but I do love the beginning and I do love the middle. Pretty much I liked it all the way up to the Dobby stuff, including the Dobby stuff, obviously. So yeah, I think now the final verdict really just hinges on the aftermath, like on what we're gonna get in like what is it? The first week of January is the next chapter.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, there is no jump next week for the
Yes,
holidays.
yes,
But there is one the following week. It's 14 days from
yes,
now. So yeah.
yes, yes. The mangaka are finally allowed to sleep an extra week.
Exactly one break.
Exactly one break. All right. Speaking of breaks, we do have one person and one manga who's back from break this week.
Oh
We've been
man. So yeah,
eager.
let's do it. So
Yeah.
Jujutsu Kaisen, the greatest thing of all time, obviously.
That shirt is getting completely undone now. Well, I mean, we're talking about what uh, what Twitter would call the pussy part of Jump, you know. So let's go. Kinography. How was it this
Okay,
week?
so Jujutsu Kaisen this week, we was obviously on break last week. This week is very clearly about, they're saying that the shit's about to end.
Mm-hmm.
So they went out and they said that the goal of the mission is no longer to save Gojo. It's just to get as many people out of there as they can, which great fucking job so far on that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a lot of time jumps, so it looks like the first panels of Toto are pre Mahito fight,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and then it kind of cuts to later on. Good God, the city is obliterated.
Uh-huh.
Uh, they managed to find Panda is in gorilla mode, which, by the way, enjoy that, fans. I love Panda. So it was nice seeing him in gorilla mode. He finds Kukisabe, and he says that if Gojo is gone, and so there's actually rules again, I will be perfectly fine with Yuji dying.
Mm-hmm.
Then it cuts to a really weird the Mei with Wee Wee in the bed,
Oh yeah.
and she's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, let's bang," and she's like, "No." Um, and I guess his curse technique like teleports them out of danger or something
Yeah.
because they're now
That's
in
what I got.
Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
And she straight up is like telling people, "Yeah, you need to sell everything you own in Japan because shit is about to get awful."
Yes, which is really cool. I do like that.
Yes. When she said, "Sell all of your Japanese stock, all the real estate you have in Tokyo. I even exchanged all my yen for other currency. You need to get out of
Mhm.
there."
Yeah, which that you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of when in Toriko Zebra gets out, and it's like within 2 days the stock market's plummeted
Oh
and
yeah, the
whatnot.
whole world economy is like, "Oh my god, Zebra's
That
back."
guy, yeah. I really do like that is being taken into account because for some reason the economy is something that manga really does not care about. Which I mean, okay, kids don't care about the economy for the most part, or shouldn't care about the economy. If your kid has to worry about the economy, it's
Yeah, you're fucking up somehow if your
yeah,
kid is worried about the
exactly.
economy. And then we cut to Yuji with his as of yet unexplained memory manipulation power.
Mm-hmm.
Homeboy, whose name I sadly cannot remember right at this exact moment.
Choso.
Choso, that's who it is. Yeah, that's what it is. He is straight up weeping on the
Mm-hmm.
floor, trying to figure out what Yuji, because I guess he knows that that's not real.
Yeah.
And he's trying to figure out exactly what Yuji is and why he can do that, and he also wants to know what he is. And then it cuts to the present day again, where we see a little bit of MAGA Geto's power. And boy, he looks every bit as strong as Geto was.
Yeah, I think it's such a bold move to have us have this like huge climax battle with Mahito, and then Geto comes in and literally one shots Yuji. Like
Well,
that
the
is
funny part
that.
is he does a little trick on him, and he's like, "Ah, yeah, that's my power's pretty cool, and this is exactly what is weak about it. But I also don't have to let you exploit any of its weaknesses, and I'm just gonna obliterate you in one hit."
Yeah, it's. I really think now we're gonna start getting into like some of the cool shit, like
Yeah, and it's
because we
interesting that
haven't
he
been, right.
said that if during the parade of 100 demons, if the forces were not divided, Geto would have
Mm-hmm.
won, and
Mm-hmm.
Yuta would not have. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a bold claim. If you've read
Mm-hmm.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, that's pretty brutal. What happens in the end?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then Yuji is just, oh my god, he's fucked up.
Yeah, he's just on the ground in like a circle of blood.
Yeah, it's just like his own blood
Mm.
all over the place. He's cut all to hell. And then I guess Mahito kind of figured out what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
because he makes a move to attack Geto,
Mm-hmm.
and he get it's kind of it's drawn like the humans were drawn when he transfigures them,
Yeah,
which
right.
I thought was a cool way to do it. And now
Mm-hmm.
he's inside a Pokeball,
Yep.
and he's
And he's
probably
one
going to
of
get eaten because that's exactly what it looks like when Geto eats a spirit to gain control of it.
yeah. And honestly, I think the most interesting thing in this chapter is the fact that probably Geto is now gonna negotiate with Yuji, because the way this is set up, he's like, "Hey, I know you want me to let Gojo free, but I won't. I'm more powerful than you. So let's talk about that new world I envision." And I'm thinking he's probably going to force Yuji to make some sort of pact with him or Sukuna in exchange for letting Gojo go or pretending to letting him go. Because honestly, I can't see any other reason why the chapter ends on Geto still like talking to Yuji and not him walking away. Because
Right.
Geto has won, right? Like he's the only decisive victor of this entire event. Like there's everyone else is fucked to hell. The Curse family is just gone. The Jutsu sorcerers have lost their most important asset. Tokyo lost its Shibuya, pretty
The
much
entire
all of it.
city, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I wonder what Geto is gonna try and pull on Yuji now. It's
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it kind of calls back to before in the Junpei stuff that's in the anime right now when they tried
mhm,
to force Yuji into a situation to make some sort of deal with Sukuna, and Sukuna was like, "Fuck off, I'm doing my own thing."
mhm.
And we know that Sukuna's doing his own thing right now,
Uh-huh.
and so I just don't know where they're because I don't Sukuna just doesn't seem interested in Geto or Mahito really.
Yeah.
He's got his
Yeah.
own thing going on, and he's
Mhm.
just gonna do it. But I'd like to think that the conversation they're gonna have isn't just going to be Geto doing like some villain gloating and then leaving.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be interesting for what he's even gonna ask about or petition for with Yuji or why he's even talking to him. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's just gonna try to dig the nail in deeper of like your time is limited before Sukuna is back and you're gone, or
Mhm.
what it's gonna be. But I need it ASAP.
The streets require
The
it.
streets need it.
Yeah, because it's like I feel like we're gonna start getting a lot of substance on things we've been wanting substance on, because I definitely think Choso's whole deal is going to actually lead into a proper conversation about what the fuck Yuji has been doing with memories. Because so far it's been just this thing that happens, right? And no one's really mentioned it. Um, oh, my light is flickering. Cursed house myself.
Uh oh.
But ooh. But like up until now, that has just kind of been happening. But now that Choso has experienced it, but is also something's wrong, I feel like we're gonna start hearing some shit about that, what that could be, and I am So excited for that because that's like one of those things where like it could go anywhere. Like, what does that mean? What does it imply about who Yuji is if it's his technique? What does it imply about Sukuna if it's his technique, right? So, and it probably isn't since he doesn't seem to be aware of it himself. So, like, what does it mean? I don't know, but I want to find out. You know,
Yeah,
that's
because like the only other time it happened was Toto, and Toto just kind of embraced it
yeah,
and
Toto just straight.
doesn't seem to question it. But then we've
Yeah.
got Choso, who is literally like having a nervous breakdown
Hmm.
over it, and
Well,
it's
yeah.
weird because if he, it seems at least to me that he is aware that the memories are not real, but they're
Hmm.
clearly affecting him as though they were,
Yeah.
even if he's aware of it.
Like it seems to be one of those things where like the memory is such a visceral part of him that he can't help but be affected by it. But also, I think the reason it's affecting him so strongly, and the reason why he can actually piece out that it's fake, is because, of course, he is one of the cursed womb death paintings, right? The 13 children that got modified with cursed energy, and he obviously has a very close relationship to his siblings. I mean, the whole reason he joined Mahito was so they could retrieve more of their siblings. Um, So I think what is happening here is that because Yuji's memory manipulation is fucking with his perception of his family, because obviously Yuji's calling him Big Bro, um, because of that, he instinctively knows that it's wrong, but because he's still so connected to the idea of brotherhood, it's still so viscerally affecting. I think that's what we're seeing here is this conflict between the intense knowledge he has about his family, about who he cares for, versus his innate feeling of closeness with his supposed family, which is now being tampered with Yuji's manipulation. Which also, interestingly enough, both times it's come up with, it's manipulated him into the position of a brother, be it blood brother or spiritual brother, which
Right.
is also interesting. Like nothing else, not like acquaintance or friend or anything. Always someone that calls you bro, which I don't know if that's relevant, but it's definitely something that just kind of sprung to mind right now.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Hmm.
I don't
And
know.
of
I don't
course,
know where. I don't know. I don't have enough to go on. No, we don't have enough to go on. I just
yeah,
need to know what's gonna happen. And then they
yeah,
immediately. We kind of talked about this a lot in the past, but they've already brought up the potential of okay, let's kill Yuji to get rid of
hmm,
Sukuna. But
hmm,
I kind of question at this point how much control Yuji has over Sukuna, because he's like
hmm,
15 fingers there.
yeah,
I don't know if there's. Plus, we don't know entirely all the details of the secret vow yet. I don't think. If we did, I forgot them. Um,
uh, well, I just rewatched the episode today because I'm forcing one of my friends, my IRL friends, to Jujutsu Kaisen, as everyone should. And I believe the conditions were when he says extension, Yuji has to let him switch for 1 minute, and he has to forget about it. And the fucky part is it's not clear if they agreed on it, but Sukuna does suggest that in that 1 minute he's not allowed to directly harm anyone. And those seem to be all the conditions, unless there's some that just have not been mentioned.
yeah, and he didn't well directly harm anyone or the people that Yuji cares about.
I think the wording is directly harm anyone. I can
Because
pull up the chapter.
in Shibuya, he outright just murks some people.
Yes, but that's because in Shibuya he's not under the effect of that vow.
Oh, I
Because
guess that's true.
he doesn't switch in via the enchantment, right? He doesn't say extension. He switches in because Yuji gets overwhelmed by eating like 6 fingers at once, right? So I think that's where that's the money detail, you know.
Right. And then even when he gives control back to Yuji, it almost looks like he just says, "Okay, I'm gonna go now."
Yeah, could be, could be.
Not as much of like Yuji wresting control back from him. He seemed very content in just letting Yuji take back over.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, wait, let me see. I'm just reading the chapter right now on here on the PC. You agree to let me take over your body for 1 full minute when I chant enchain. Okay, that's different in the anime, but okay. Um, and you'll forget about disagreement. I promise I won't kill or hurt anyone during that minute. And this is, as authorial as I can get it, because obviously I don't speak Japanese. So the official translations have to be it. But yeah, he has not used that until now, I believe. So
Okay.
that's gonna come up at some
Yeah,
point.
it's got to eventually.
Mm-hmm. What the other thing we're probably gonna hear more about now is MAGA Geto,
Well,
which
yeah, he's the only bad guy left.
yeah, but that's interesting because he's like considering he's like the main bad guy now. We really have not we don't really have any knowledge on him at all, which I think is going to make for some interesting next couple of weeks. Because now we can really start like putting our goggles on and being like, oh, you see the way he looks in this panel implies this thing,
He
and
looks,
actually
yeah,
he's
he's looking slightly down and to the right over here.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, because all of his lore so far has been presented as the actual Geto,
Yeah.
which he isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, pretty soon we're gonna have to find out who the brain in the fishbowl is, because we know for a fact that all we know is that it's not really Geto. That's all we've got.
It's Donald Trump.
Oh God, way too competent. He's way too successful.
That's true. It's I want to say Mitch McConnell, but I don't know how successful good old Mitchie is.
Mitch McConnell doesn't look like he could walk 36 steps, so I don't think it's
That is
him.
that is true. He looks about the right age though, like a couple of thousand years.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe this is just the brain that MAGA Geto went into after Mitch McConnell's turtle body decayed all the way.
No, you see, Jujutsu Kaisen actually plays out in like a distant future, where Mitch McConnell has successfully like transplanted his consciousness, and he's now haunting humanity with his weird obstructionist right wing bullshit.
With his horrifying right wing, I don't give a shit about anything other than making lots of money, but somehow I
Yeah,
keep getting elected.
ain't it crazy? Like I live 7,000 kilometers away from y'all, and even I know about that guy.
Yeah, because
Like
he's the
that.
worst fucking person. Of all the awful people in American politics, he is somehow the worst, and that is a stunning achievement.
He's he's like he's one of those politicians who looks exactly as nice as he is.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen someone who looks more like decayed while alive. Like it's actually kind of scary.
Yeah, that's I know someone was writing like his autobiography or something, and so they were
Mm-hmm.
like following him around
Mm-hmm.
to write it for him. And the guy's takeaway was like he's not especially like mean or nasty, but he's soulless.
Okay.
Like
Jesus.
yeah, like they said basically like he's not like rude or he doesn't like act like he doesn't go out places and like shit on the underpaid waitress or whatever. But like he lacks any and all human empathy. He's just like a soulless husk of a person.
Well, that is what he looks like.
Yeah, like you said, it all comes through in the face.
Yeah, and that is why he chose to get rid of that face and
And
jump into a brain
jump
and
into
become
Suguru Geto's body.
MAGA Ghetto. It all comes back to life,
It's all, it's like poetry that it rhymes.
Oh yes. Mitch McConnell is MAGA Ghetto confirmed.
That's as sound a theory as I've heard so far on who it
I mean,
is.
honestly, it's as good a guess as any at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
I
what do we know about MAGA Ghetto? He's old. He's evil. He, he's manipulative. Like, I mean, at this point, we've described like every politician under the sun. But
yeah. And
do you
MAGA
have that?
though, so don't forget.
That is
That's the
true. I mean,
deciding factor.
do you have that over there in America as well? What we over here call the gray hair politics. It was just like the highest ranks of politics are all just decided by people who look like they're gonna drop dead in like 10 years or less?
Yes, 100% of our politics are decided by people who will never survive to see the results of their terrible decisions. Yes.
Ah, okay, so it is a universal thing.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Oh my god, like we really do be getting into shit every time we start talking about Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, it gets the brain running. You just start thinking about everything.
Yeah, but it is kind of weird how every single time our brains start like really running and the dust starts like flowing out of our ears, it's like, man, like right-wing politics are awful. Like
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that we named Geto MAGA Geto, and that has stuck. So it
hey, you know
probably
what?
the
You know
transition's
what?
pretty easy.
I know what I like to think that we didn't name him that. He named him that. He named himself that through his actions, and we were just the messengers.
Just the
We just picked up
observer. Yeah, no, that makes
exactly.
sense.
Exactly. Look, man. All I'm saying is Ghetto is definitely a racist.
Oh, for
Like,
sure. 100%. If
he
there's
calls
any
people
character in
monkey.
Jujutsu Kaisen that is for sure a racist, it's Geto.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Mahito is like, he just kills people equally. He doesn't really care. He's he's kind of also like sexually ambiguous, so I think we can count him as an ally there as well. So like, we just lost our accepting king. Now we're left with this racist bigot.
Yeah, it's a dark day for Jujutsu Kaisen.
It's a dark day for manga leftists, for sure.
Lost our asexual accepting king, Mahito.
Uh, oh my god, now Yuji has to fight the entire establishment of systemic racism. Uh, this is getting too real, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Yuji, the young fucking person trying to fight this antique old evil man to
I
make the
mean, if you
world not
think
suck.
I mean, if you think about it, all battle shonen boil down to young, uh, disillusioned generation fighting against the older generation that ruined the world they live in. Like that's literally half of battle shonen.
That's true.
Like, man, rewatching Naruto has made me realize just how much of Naruto is literally just old people fucking shit up and not living to see that fucked up shit play
That is
out.
basically the entirety of Naruto.
That is basically life, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. They say art
Yeah,
imitates life.
yeah, But hey, manga isn't political. Never has been, obviously.
Obviously not. Obviously
No,
not. It's not
no,
political as
impossible.
long as there's not women and black people in it.
You know how it is. There is only two genders, male and political.
Yeah,
God,
there's two kinds of characters in a fictional work. There's white men and then there's political statements. Those are the only two kinds of people there can possibly be in any sort of
I
medium.
fucking have I mentioned how much I fucking hate anime fans? I'm sorry, anyone who's listening. I don't hate you. I mean, I don't know. I don't.
I
Maybe I
might.
do.
I don't think I do. I hope I don't, because I like all
Yeah.
of you guys who chip in and talk with us in the comments and stuff. But damn, there are some anime fans out there.
Oh my god, it's so
It's
annoying.
fans of any nerdy medium, really, to be honest.
Yeah, it nerdy content has like you would think that with it becoming mainstream, it would have lost the reputation of only attracting weirdos, but instead it turned being a weirdo mainstream.
Well, it just made all the weirdos like strangely vindictive. Like,
Yeah,
oh, this is my space and I was here first, and you need to get the fuck out. But it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, like I can't tell you the number of times I see people say shit like, oh, I got bullied my whole life for liking this, and now everyone's just fine with it. And then you're like, isn't that a
Hmm.
good thing? Isn't that something that you want to have happen? But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although I will admit, I sometimes do catch myself feeling like not like that specifically about the bullying, but where it's like, when I see like a YouTuber, like a big like 2-3 million sub guy, who has never mentioned anime in their entire life, and then suddenly every video they do has like one JoJo meme in it for a good measure, and I'm like, okay, like Did you
Appropriating our
read all of?
culture.
No, it's more like, did you read all of JoJo in 1 week, or did you realize that JoJo memes bang on YouTube?
Yeah.
Especially in content creation, I've always have like that, and I don't like that I have that. I will admit that's not a great trait of me, and it's probably unfair because I mean I don't know, maybe he did read all of JoJo at that time, but I can't help it sometimes where it's like, you never really had anything to do with anime, and suddenly you happen to like all the popular things and happen to keep referencing it in like your big videos. I wonder. But again, that might just be me being really disillusioned and jaded and mean. So maybe I'm the bad guy here. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
Also,
don't think anybody likes like people using the thing that you like, but I
mhm.
think that a lot of people can't aim that very accurately. It's like the
Yeah,
meme of like, "Oh, what's that? You're a pretty blonde girl and you've read Naruto? Quick, name me every jutsu that uses water style hand signs." Like, you know, there's a
yeah,
limit
okay,
to
I
it.
get. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's also a different thing because then you get into the whole conflation of misogyny there as well. Because a lot of we're really about to alienate like everyone, but like a lot of anime fans just are very jaded young guys who think that girls are evil. So there
Yeah,
is
I mean,
also a
it's
lot
a
of that in
specific
there.
subset of people.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but yeah, and I don't think again that it's anime exclusive. I think it's more just like traditionally nerd genre
Hmm.
exclusive. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, there are definitely that subset of people who are like girls are weird and mean, and or this one's more specific in the anime community. But girls are like kawaii desu fanfic sex objects. You see
Hmm.
that one a lot. Where people
Yes.
do like weird shit, like writing fanfics about living women and then tweeting them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
very weird. And I don't know if it's because they don't understand the difference between a fictional girl and a real one,
Hmm.
or like they just aren't there socially, or they're just trying to be mean and don't care. That's very possible too.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I
like,
think
it's unsettling. as a
it
as a
is.
adult man, it's very awkward and weird.
It is. It is. But I suppose this is also the part where we have to acknowledge that we are two adults staring down an ocean of kids.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, I don't think I ever was like that. Even in my youth, there was limits to how
yeah, of
weird you can
course.
get anime wise. But like everyone kind of goes through that period where like you're single for like a year or whatever, and you're like, ugh, what am I doing wrong? Is it my fault? Is it everyone else's fault? I don't know. And like so I get that to an extent, and I remember being a teenager, and I didn't have a particularly rough teenage life, by
Hmm.
comparison. Um, by virtue of I walked to and from school every day, so I was actually
Hmm.
kind of like fit and like
Hmm.
decent looking, so I made out okay. But not
Hmm.
everybody gets lucky in high school, and I get that, and college and
Hmm.
whatnot, and I don't know. I understand the difficulties of being a high school male at times, but also understand as an adult that there's just ways you don't behave.
Yeah, of course, right? It's one of those things where, like, as an adult, you can kind of look back and have that sort of perspective where, like, yeah, things sometimes suck for people in of all walks of life. That's just how life is, and high school is a part of life that sucks for quite a few people. But as an adult, you also have the perspective of, but hey, some of these things you might want to do because things suck might make things suck for other people way worse, and you just don't do that. So
Or
please
even
stop.
worse for like yourself. Like
Yeah, that also.
nobody wants to hang out with the guy that just wrote a fanfic about the girl in school getting railed by a yeti or whatever the fuck you just wrote. Like nobody's down for that. I can't
Yeah.
stress enough how weird that is.
Oh my god. Like, keep the writing fan fictions for adulthood when you're a sad adult or a happy adult. I don't judge. And then do it only with fictional characters or real people who've expressly told you it's fine.
Yes,
Like,
both of those are fine. Or you know
Yes,
what? You
like
know what? I don't even really give a shit what you do in the privacy of your own home, but don't post it on Twitter.
yeah, yeah, that's
You know what? If
also
you
important.
whatever you got to do in the privacy of your own home on like, a sketchbook you keep under the bed or whatever, you do you, dog. Just keep it to you.
Yeah, like keep it away from the point where it could
All
harm
other
anyone, right?
humans. Keep it away from any other being that is able to process thought.
But yeah, no, like it's so difficult to navigate these fandoms sometimes as an adult because it's so clear that there is this disconnect between socially adjusted adults and kids who kind of grew up on the internet, and
And
it's just
socially
so hard.
adjusted kids too. I won't say there's none of them. There's a lot of younger people that I see on a regular basis, especially on like
That's true.
anime
That's
Twitter, that
true.
are adjusted, capable people. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that the ones who aren't are like that's their fault or whatever. Like life sucks, I get it, but
Yeah,
it's just hard
yeah,
to tolerate after a while.
yeah. And I mean, it's not necessarily our responsibility to tolerate and understand each and every creep online, right?
Right,
Like,
yeah, like I don't have to give every single human being I've ever seen the benefit of the doubt, neither does anyone else. Like,
exactly. So, it's one of those things where, like, it's just so difficult to marry these two aspects while navigating this murky ocean. Because, yeah, a lot of them just are kids. And the thing that is, of course, also important, kids that grew up on the internet and on internet sensibilities and languages of the era they used it in. And that has certain consequences. Like, I definitely think both extremes of like internet behavior right now of kids, where you have the really, really aggressively bigoted kids online, and then you have the ones that are like incredibly like policing, like oh, did you know that lame is a slur and shit like that. Like both sides are just a result of this weird intermezzo period where they just kind of grew up online, and it's just you get both of these in the anime community as well, and it's just so weird trying to like look at this and be like, how much thought and how much energy do I put into this as an adult, who has a job, who makes money, who has other responsibilities. It's just difficult. I've kind of actually started stepping away from Twitter for that specific reason, because it's just annoying.
yeah, I mean, there's
I
just a
don't even know.
finite amount of tolerance any human being can have for like. And I think we talked about this a little bit last time. We always end up on these. It's always fucking the Jujutsu Kaisen portion that ends up
Yes.
bringing us here. Um, it's one of those things where like the older you get, the shit just stops mattering because you have to feed your family and not die.
Hmm.
But like when you have these kids who are like fighting over whether or not idiot is like the same as the N word, it's like
Hmm.
that does matter to them. It shouldn't because life is
Hmm.
way more than that, but it does to them at that period of time. And there's no real way to convince them that it doesn't because that's what their life experience has dictated up to this point.
Hmm.
Like I remember various times in my life where I would like consider myself, "Oh yeah, I know things." And then
Hmm.
4 years later, I would look back at that one who said that he knew things then and go, "That guy didn't know anything, but I know things now." But like it's you're constantly evolving as a person. And so like it's good to be aware of that, but it's difficult to get someone who thinks that they're speaking from a position purely of understanding to recognize that their priorities may not be in the right place. It's a
Yeah.
difficult conversation to have with someone who I don't know, just it's a difficult conversation to have with anyone ever because no one likes to hear that what they're thinking about is not important.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's just not. I
Yeah.
mean, even that,
And
like this show's not important. Like we do this shit for fun, which is
Mhm.
great. But I feel like more people should probably have the attitude of like, if you're sitting here in a community of people who are fans of a thing, your goal should probably be just to have fun with other fans of that thing
Mhm.
and not
Yeah.
like make it so much of who you are or what you do that like defines you as a person. Because
Yeah.
in 10 years, it won't define you as a person anymore. And then
Mhm.
you'll look back on that person that you were back then and be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Like I also do wonder, like adjacent to this, like how it's gonna turn out with all of these like relatively young people kind of having to deal with topics like, media analysis this early on, because like any Twitter is full of people trying to do like the first baby steps into analyzing media and writing, and oh, this is the right way to look at it and this is the wrong way to look at it. I wonder how that'll influence people as they grow up, because there's a lot of people on there that talk with, you know a voice of supposed authority, and then you go on their profile and they're 14 and have read 2 books in their life, and it's like, what does that mean, like, for yourself and for me?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a whole nother can of worms because it's like, it's one of those things where, I don't want to begrudge anyone their reading of anything that they've ever read. Because if that's what
mhm,
they've read, then, that's more power to you. But you get these people who read this kind of stuff, and it's not just, again, anime, you guys, video games, it's movies, it's anything. Um, and they'll just kind of start speaking with like terms that are beyond their level of usability.
mhm,
Like, well, they'll say something, oh, this is badly written, and you'll be like,
mhm,
why? And then usually their explanation is something like, it's not completely and fully explained in every single possible way. It
mhm,
allows for reader interpretation, and therefore it's badly written. Like,
mhm,
I don't know. Every time I think I find someone like that trying to critique something, it all
mhm,
is like semi capable, like on a very surface level. And then as soon as you
mhm.
dig into it, you're like, oh, you don't know what any of these words actually mean. That's a
Yeah.
shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like experience and, actual contact with storytelling over the years makes the big difference, right? Because you can always watch YouTube videos and you can always watch or read articles about certain terms or certain conventions or whatnot. But really, until you have that sort of experience with looking at these things critically and have that experience over a long period of time, that is just a perspective that is hard to emulate without that. And I also think it doesn't help that in, let's say, what do we even call this? Like the modern era of internet content creation, there's been this like weird tendency to equate skepticism and dismissiveness to critical thought, where it's like, I am smart and I am a critic because I can look at a story and just shit on it completely while not buying into anything it's trying to sell me intentionally so that I can say mean things about them.
We're going to get a lot of comments about Black Clover in response to all that shit you just said.
Maybe. I mean, the thing with Black Clover is, right? I bought into its central narrative for pretty much the entire time I was reading it. Like, my problem with Black Clover is not the premise and it's not the mood, or it's not the mood it's trying to sell me in itself. My problem with Black Clover specifically was that I felt that for the story it was trying to write and tell me, it was way too enamored with fireworks and action. And it's an action kids cartoon. I get that, but if you don't allow me to slow down a bit, I'm not going to be able to appreciate the faster moments, and I'm going to be missing the slow moments that are very rare and often don't really lead anywhere. And like, again, this is a very specific observation on my part, but I also feel it's the kind of observation that I can make because I have a decent amount of experience thinking and criticizing stuff like this. Whereas, if I were 15 and I would have read Black Clover and not liked it, I would have probably said, like, oh, the characters are paper thin and the action sucks because the paneling is bad. It's like, no, like those are placeholder problems that I'm creating to make my argument stronger with big words. When really what I'm trying to say is, hey, kind of want to slow down, you know.
Right.
So, you know, man, I somehow managed to fit in a rant about Black Clover in here. We are gonna get a lot of comments, aren't we? But yeah, like you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, no, I mean definitely, and you see it all the time. You know, people will say things like, "Oh my God, what bad paneling," and you know they'll have cherry picked and cropped in one specific page, and then they're like, "Oh
Mhm.
wow." You see it a lot with One Piece. Like normally, I'm happy to shit on One Piece because like Jesus
Oh
Christ, that shit's
yes.
1,000 chapters long. But
Uh-huh.
I can't help but notice that that has to be the single series that has the most like poorly cropped like arguments I've ever seen. People will post like half of one page and be like, "Look at this nightmare," and it's like, man.
Mhm.
Or they'll be like evidence that One Piece drawings are shit, and it's like 2 pages. And I'm like, dude, that shit's got
Yeah.
1,000 chapters. And you're telling me these 2 pages are all you need to determine that it's in fact always a poorly drawn series? Like,
Mhm.
there's no nuance, and part of that I think is it's Twitter, and so you're capped in the what you can say because like nobody reads Twitter threads.
Yeah.
They read the
Yeah.
tweet, the primary
Mhm.
tweet. And so it's impossible to really get your point across in a nuanced way without having to re-explain yourself 14 times. And the
Yeah, yeah,
nature
yeah.
of online discussion with people who have not, I don't know if matured is the right word because that can sound dismissive, but people who have not like grown into understanding like what they care about, the nature of discussion with them is to be like quick, snappy, and dismissive because that's how
Yes.
you win. You don't win by like picking apart what the other person is saying. You win by finding a reason to not have to care about what they're saying at all.
Yeah,
So that's
pretty
why you'll
much.
see someone be like, One Piece sucks. And then someone will be like, I like One Piece. I think it's pretty good. Those pages aren't that bad. And the response is always some shit like, oh my God, yo, JoJo Avi. Yo,
Yeah,
look
exactly.
at this Black Clover Avi. And it's like, nobody wants to really have a discussion about it. They just kind of want to use Twitter as their way to shit out whatever take that they have at the time. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's weird because I subscribe to it in both ways, where it's like, I don't feel like stating an opinion means that you owe someone an explanation.
mhm.
I genuinely don't think that. I think that if you state your opinion in a space that is your own, so like your own Twitter page, you are allowed to say whatever you want, and you do not owe people an explanation for that.
Mhm.
But it's still in the public, and they don't owe you silence just because you don't want to explain it either. So if
Mhm.
you choose to engage, and then you begin that engagement by just trying to stick them in some box that you think makes them look stupid and therefore not worth talking to, you just come off like
Mhm.
an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean. I think this is the part of the show where we just have to accept that Annie Twitter is basically just one giant schoolyard, and it's like break right before lunch. Everyone's upset because lunch is not there yet, and it's probably gonna suck because school lunches suck, and everyone's just trying to dunk on each other, right? Like, because that's what it is. It's clapback culture, where it's like there's no conversation happening. It's just I'm gonna get back at you real cool,
Well, yeah, it's
and
like
that.
everyone wants to be the one who's getting the audience cheered and then they high-fived me, like reaction.
Yes, everyone wants to ratio.
Yeah, and so you have these conversations all over the place where it's like they're not even they're fights for no reason.
Hmm.
Like someone will say something and then someone else will say something and then it's just like a 14 thread tweet like fight that's just like insulting one another over whether or not Luffy is an attractive character design or not. Like who fucking cares, man?
Yeah,
Why
who
does it
cares?
have
The,
to Yeah,
the
it's
answer is no.
well, okay, yes, the answer is no. But also, do you really have to like spend all this time trying to hurt each other's feelings over whether or not you think Luffy is a good drawing or not?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I suppose at the end of the day, it just comes back to like the true and tried phrase: "Is it ever that serious?"
That's
Right?
true. Is
Like,
it
it's
ever
really,
that serious?
yeah. Um, yeah. Like, what can I say? Luffy is not all that attractive as a character design, but it's Oda's art style, and you know that's cool. I don't vibe with it. I really don't. I was really happy when I heard that the new Shonen Jump not volume, the issue covers were going to just be other artists drawing Oda's characters. Because now I can finally see these characters in an art style that I don't hate.
Yeah, I loved when Boichi did the redraws. Those were great.
Yeah, and I mean, even on this like cover, I do find it weird some of the characters they've chosen. Like Horikoshi chose fucking Don Krieg to draw, which is like, has that guy appeared past like the first arc of One Piece? I don't remember. Like he's
You're
the main
asking the wrong
villain.
guy.
That's true. How did you? Wait, I don't remember. How did you get into One Piece at some point, or?
I read like 300 chapters, and I was like, I need to fucking not do this anymore.
Oh my god! But you only read 300 chapters, bro.
Only
Like, come
only
on.
300 of a there's 700 more to go. You only spent
Yeah,
a month and a half reading it? It's ridiculous.
yeah. You don't know nothing, bro. Nothing. I mean, I had someone tweet at me say that I have no right to speak on One Piece because I haven't read it for 200 chapters. It's like, yeah, nice way to frame it, asshole. How about the other way around? I've read 700 chapters of One Piece, but I'm
Yeah,
not allowed
well,
to speak
that
on
is
it.
a whole nother can of worms where it's like it's a very One Piece specific problem because I'm
Yeah.
not reading 1,000 fucking chapters of this shit just to justify my opinion to teenagers on the internet.
Mhm.
So like whatever. You can make up whatever excuse you want to defend it and that kind of comes back to what I said before where it's like they don't want to engage with your criticism, they just want to think up a reason why it's not valid that you have it to begin with, so they don't have to.
That's a very good way to put it.
Because like
That is.
they don't have to debate against your point if all they have to say is, "Oh, you haven't read One Piece since chapter 700 and now it's on 900. Therefore, you
Mhm.
are dismissed without the conversation ever happening." And it's just a way to feel like they don't actually have to engage with or defend themselves from you in any
Yeah.
capacity.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, we really managed to fit in like the Black Clover this, the One Piece this,
It always
and we
comes
haven't.
back around. We haven't even talked about Boruto or Super yet.
Okay, let's actually do that because we've been on this tangent for a while. Do we have closing words on Jujutsu? Since that's
Raw
what we're talking
ass
about.
Kino swag. Read that shit every
Rawness
week.
and swag. Yes, awesome. Kinography.
Raw
I woke up.
kinography.
I woke up this morning to a text from the aforementioned friend who I'm forcing Jujutsu Kaisen on, and he's really not that big into anime. I woke up to a text of him saying, "Dude, when are you gonna be on Discord? We have to continue Jujutsu Kaisen."
Hell
And I'm like,
yeah.
"Yes, yes,
Yes, sir.
yes, sir." All right, Boruto or Super?
Let's do
Pick your
Super
poison.
first because it's the one I'm less offended by.
Okay, Super's cool.
I
That
kind of
was a
like
nice
it.
chat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like that Maris is alive. That pissed me off
Mm-hmm.
because I thought like, oh my god, we might actually have a thing that's kind of sad in Dragon Ball. Because they were
Mm-hmm.
like, the one panel where it said everything kind of went back to normal except for that one angel that ceased to exist. I was like, aw, he gave
Mm-hmm.
his life for this, and that's yeah, a certain angel trainee. And I was like, aw, that's actually kind of really sweet because it's like the same Dragon Ball. Hey, we went to Namek and we used the fucking Namek Dragon Balls to fix everything again.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's back and it's great. But then they kind of the last panel was like, well, not the last panel, but the last panel of the "We restored everything" montage was just
Mm-hmm.
space. It was just empty space, and it was the universe was once again back to the way it was, except for Maris is dead. And I was like, oh, that's actually really good for Dragon Ball. And then they're like, just kidding, he's just a fucking human now.
Mm-hmm.
Which that pissed me off. It ruined everything that like any emotional reaction I had to the end of this is just obliterated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I ceased to exist as an angel, but now I
Yeah.
brought him back to life as a mortal. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah,
Um,
because it's like it's not gonna matter
yeah, he's not
because
gonna
it's
come back. He's not like a recurring
exactly,
character now.
and it's not like we're gonna be on the edge of our seat being like, "Oh no, is Mira's gonna die again?"
Yeah, is
Oh.
Varys once again going to die? And like, I guess it's fine that like, yay, everyone's happy, but everyone's always fucking happy in Dragon Ball. And no
Yeah.
one was like weeping over Maris. It's not like Goku is emotionally devastated that Maris is gone. So like, why
Mhm.
not just leave that poignant little moment of like, Maris told Goku, I trust that you will save the world in my place. It was almost an Android 16 kind of moment.
Yeah, yeah.
This feels like if after the Android 16 moment, They were up on Kami's lookout, and 16 just walked out, and he was like, "Yeah, I had a backup body." Like,
It's kind of ridiculous, really.
it sucks. It's my main complaint about it. But otherwise, I kind of liked it. It's a very Star Wars vibe from this chapter of them, getting their hero medals and everything, like in A New Hope
Uh,
after they blow up the Death Star, and then you've got the guy in the spaceship raiding the planet, and they're all using they're not using key blasts or anything. It's all blasters and like regular
mhm.
fighting. It's cool. I hope that it stays interesting and kind of good.
Yeah. Apparently, this arc is going to have more involvement by Toriyama. No clue what
I
that
don't
means.
know if that's good or bad, but we'll see.
I mean, Toriyama wrote Dragon Ball, but he also wrote Dragon Ball. So like,
Correct. Toriyama wrote Dragon Ball, but he also wrote everything about Dragon Ball since 2002. So
yeah,
it is alarming.
yeah. He wrote Gohan's character arc, but he also wrote Gohan's character arc. So like,
Yeah.
you
he
know,
he wrote Goku, but then he also wrote what the fuck S cells are and that they're a thing.
that's still the most random ass shit in
That's
existence.
some shit that like he scribbled that on a napkin because he realized he had an interview he forgot to agree to. And they were like, "Hey, your interview's in 10 minutes. They're pulling up outside." He's like, "What?" "Oh, fuck." And so he just like pulled out some sweaty napkins that he had been using, and he scribbled down some shit like biological bullshit on it that he was like, "I don't even know if this is how biology works." And then he was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, here's my interview topic. It's why Caulifla has the most S cells of anyone and all this bullshit." Like, ugh.
uh, you remember what was this? What was his name? The first Super Saiyan God, Yaboshi.
Yamoshi.
Yamoshi. You remember when that was supposed to be a thing in
Remember
the
when everyone
movie?
thought that the Broly movie was going to be versus Yamoshi for no reason?
Yeah.
And then it was a meme that it was going to be Broly, and everyone's like, "No, you idiot! It's obviously Yamoshi, the original Super Saiyan God. That's why he's green instead of red." And then it was fucking Broly.
Oh my god. I remember the exact minute the Dragon Ball Super Broly title dropped on Twitter with the
Well,
poster.
do you remember the poster leak that everyone said was obviously fake,
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm
and
talking
it
about.
was
I remember
actually
that.
the poster?
Yeah. I remember when like the first like banner came out and it was like base form Broly from behind, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's Yamcha."
Oh yeah, they did say it was Yamcha. Look at his hair. That's obviously not Broly. And then
Of
it
course
was
not.
fucking Broly. But now I kind of like Broly, so whatever.
I do. I mean,
Super Broly's
what
kind of cool.
what I'll always remember about that specific day is also when later that day Funimation like announced, of course, the dub of the movie, and someone, I don't remember their name, but someone made like a 13 thread 13 tweet thread about why the font they chose for the dub poster was awful and just showed how bad the dubbing industry is. It's like, man,
Homie's
come
down
on.
bad.
Yeah, come on, man. Like, come on.
Uh,
People
but
are so aggressive to dubs. It's insane. But
especially
then again,
Dragon Ball, which to an extent I get it, because goddamn, that original dub sucks ass. But like,
that is true. But
you
I
know,
also think I always also think there's a weird like, how do I say this in a way that doesn't sound bad? There's a weird like worship for Japanese voice actors in the anime community, which is really weird. Where it's like you get the impression that people think that the Japanese are just inherently good at voice acting and everyone else just inherently sucks,
well, I
especially
think that
English
people
people.
don't realize that anime, especially, is written to be voiced by Japanese people.
Yeah,
And so what
yeah.
and so a lot, like, it's written to be inflected and spoken with that timing and stuff, and that's why you get a lot of the jarring English versions of it. Like,
Mhm.
my least favorite thing in the whole world is an English dub that uses anime grunting. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
When a character looks
yeah,
over it and they're like, "Oh, like they have to voice their emotions always." Like,
yeah.
it's my least favorite thing because it's my one major complaint about the Final Fantasy VII remake. Is every
Oh,
time
they do
something
that.
happens, they do it all the time. Every time
Uh,
Cloud looks at anything, he has to go, "Oh." And it's
Oh.
like, no one does that. Like, but like, and it's air filler. Like a lot
Mhm.
of dubbing stuff is like filling lip flaps and shit. And so yeah, it comes
Yeah.
off funky sometimes. But people are weird about I don't want to get into a tangent on dubbing because I feel like we could go for 3 hours on that.
Oh yeah, we definitely
Where
could.
like I
Like
think it's
all.
perfectly fine to prefer the Japanese voices because I agree that a lot of the times in English it sounds weird. But I
Yeah,
don't think
yeah, I
people
feel that.
realize that's rarely the actor's fault.
Hmm.
It is just it's not written to be read the way that an English person would read it.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it
Sometimes I
kind
think
of.
it's the actor's fault. Like I listened to the Jujutsu Kaisen dub and I think all the voices are
Oh
ill-fitting.
no, like in Jujutsu Kaisen's case, I think Sukuna and Gojo have decent voices,
Sukuna's
and
is good. That's the one I like the most. I think Nobara's
yes.
is okay. It's on the
Hmm.
good side. Yuji's is rough.
Awful, awful.
Megumi's is terrible.
Okay, here's the thing. Megumi's actually grew on me a bit. He does sound like Shadow the
He sounds
Hedgehog.
like Batman.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will exercise you as a curse. I'm like, you're a 17-year-old boy, son. You need to calm down.
yeah. Like it's just a weird dub because like Yuji is just badly directed. Like I don't
Yeah,
think it's
well,
the voice
I
actor's fault.
apparently the guy who voices Yuji normally does American cartoons. He
Hmm.
doesn't do like anime, so I don't know if that has something
Hmm.
to do with it. That's just an interesting thing that I
It,
found out about the other day.
it could be because it's a weird dub because it's not made by any of the big companies. It's just listed as a Crunchyroll dub,
Oh
and
God, anything
yeah,
that's Crunchyroll original is a shit show. Let me just put that out there right now.
yeah, and it's like there doesn't seem to be I assume it's Bang Zoom because they're the ones that do all the nameless dubs. But then they also use Crunchy subs as the script,
Oh
which
God.
is a bad idea because they retain subbing mistakes in the dub script,
Oh
which is
no.
a very embarrassing thing.
That's
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, but yeah, the Jujutsu Kaisen dub is just so unfortunate because I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah, like I don't like
Um,
Gojo's voice, but I think part of it is like I would never have liked it no matter who it was.
it's Gojo, like
Because it's
yeah,
Gojo, right? Like you could never have done him justice to me. But I
yeah.
think Sukuna's is great. I think Nobara's is very good. But
Mhm.
Megumi and Yuji are painful for me. Like,
I mean, have you heard Geto?
no, we only watched one episode just to giggle at it.
Yeah, no, I kept up with it a bit just to kind of give it a chance. Ghetto's voice actor straight up is probably not getting any direction because it straight up just sounds like he's talking. Like
Oh
he's
God.
talking like we're talking into a mic. It's awful.
And
Like
again, I want
joke.
to stress that's not usually the actor's fault.
No, of course
A
not.
lot of this, like especially when it comes to anime dubbing, is like it's just them trying to read it and then hopefully the director fixes it. But like if you
Yeah.
have shitty voice direction, no good voice actor is going to do a good job.
Also, another thing to mention about Jujutsu Kaisen's dub, while I don't know if that is the case, there's a good chance it's being produced via home officing, which inherently has other limitations, of course, because I know that the My Hero dub, the second half of season 4, was entirely dubbed via from people's homes. Like people, these actors had to set up their own voice booths at home to
Right.
keep making money. So it's also an exceptional situation right now. That is also important to note. It's just a thing that's gonna get lost on people who watch this dub in like hopefully 3 years when this entire thing is not as present anymore. But but to kind of loop back to what we were saying earlier, another thing though that I do think is kind of rampant in the anime community is this weird animosity to English localization specifically, where it's like, oh God, Wiz manga changed the logo, or they changed one term, and the dub did this and that. And it's like this weird animosity specifically to the English
I
industry.
swear to you, I think it's all blowback primarily from Dragon Ball and maybe a little bit from Naruto.
Mm,
Because,
okay.
Dragon Ball is by far, I mean, it worldwide I would argue it's probably the most popular anime series.
Hmm.
One Piece fans will probably get heated about that, but whatever. I think on a
Hmm.
global scale, there's a perfectly fine argument that Dragon Ball is the most popular anime.
Hmm.
And it was pre-internet.
Hmm.
It got really popular like in the fledgling days of the internet. And
Mhm.
so there's just rampant misinformation everywhere. And you have people that grew up not knowing the source material, really.
Mhm.
And a lot of like the disseminated information came from the dub outside of Japan because you just didn't have access to the Japanese versions that often unless you really like were trying. Like there are plenty of fans that you'd have like the old yellow sub VHS tapes and shit that people would make, but like that was
Mhm.
not a thing that any fan would go and get. Like nowadays you couldn't pull up Crunchyroll and be like, "Do I want to watch the sub or the dub?" Like you
Mhm.
had the dub unless you were enough of a hardcore fan that you went out of your way to find it.
Mhm.
Um, and so it kind of has this parallel, or not anymore really, because it's been mostly dealt with, but for a long time it had these two parallel worlds of like the English dub canon and the real one. And there would be constant fighting over like, no, 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 this, and this happened. Oh, no, that was only in the dub and they made it up for the dub. Like that never really happened. And,
Mhm.
it would cause a lot of problems. And I think that
Mhm.
it has created such an air of animosity toward changing anything that
Mhm.
even a justified change or like a change that probably needed to happen because
Mhm.
you can't keep everything in Japanese exactly the same in English.
Mhm.
It's just immediately met with revulsion just because of that shit from before.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely agree, but I think it's kind of reached a point where like just cope, right? Like just fucking cope. They're two different languages. Like I remember again, like Attack on Titan is just what it's on my mind right now because the anime is airing. And I remember in season 3, there's a scene where they're like riding into war, and the general is saying, "My soul, rage, my soldiers, scream, my soldiers, fight, my soldiers," and the dub changed it to, "My soldiers rage, my soldiers fight, my soldiers scream," and people went ballistic over it. And it's like that means the exact
They're the
same
same
thing.
line. The lines are the same.
But I remember seeing like tweets like, "I cannot believe how arrogant Funimation is for changing the lines because they think they're so much smarter than the Japanese." Like, bro, like, have you considered lips? Like,
Yeah, well, I think it's weird too because it's so like subbed versions of anime are no longer niche or difficult to find or
mm-hmm,
even less popular, I think, on a
mm-hmm,
grand scale. Like my sister who watches like 3 anime ever and my
mm-hmm.
mother who watches it with them watch the subbed versions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's weird. First of all, that you're doing that. And second of all, like, okay, like subbed anime is not like a hard to find thing or even like a looked down upon thing.
Mm-hmm,
So I don't understand why it's such a big deal about dub changes. Like there's just no impact. And there's no
mm-hmm,
limitation of access to the original version if you prefer that.
mm-hmm.
And I mean it's even
Yeah.
extended into subtitlers now, where it's like, oh, the subtitle they chose changes the inflection slightly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like the whole thing in Jujutsu Kaisen about, oh my god, the
Oh
subtitle
yeah,
makes
yeah.
it looks like Megumi wants to fuck his sister. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. You're just fucking weird. Shut up for like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more
Yeah.
important shit. Like, I don't know. I think that unless you're arguing over a change that dramatically alters the substance of what is happening, it's not
Mm-hmm.
worth it. And
Yeah.
even if it dramatically alters the substance of what's happening, it actually has no impact on the source material, so it still doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's like one of those things. Since you mentioned subtitles, I also think a lot of fans don't realize how unnatural English subtitles for Japanese uh, speech are. I often hear people say, "Oh, why can't they just dub, the subs?" And it's like if you just look at the subs, if you have them like in a spreadsheet in front of you, and you read them out loud to yourself, half of that shit doesn't even sound like English. I
Hmm.
am not a native English speaker, but I have never in my life heard a person unironically say, "I'll never forgive you," or "You'll pay for this." Like, that's just not how you would speak realistically. Those are conventions. Those are, little blurbs of anime-isms that have, you know, manifested themselves as shorthands for the Japanese phrases. but you can't dub that because it sounds really unnatural. And a great example of that is Jujutsu Kaisen's dub, which uses the subs as the script, and for that reason, often sounds really, really janky. So I think there's also just this. I think people just don't understand how languages work. Like, that's my blanketed dismissive statement. Like,
Yeah, well, I
language.
think that some people think that all languages can just be thrown into like the Google machine and just come out in other languages. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think people realize that dialect and inflection and like even words are straight up missing from some languages. Some languages
yeah,
do not have equivalents of words that are commonplace in other languages. It's not something that like you can't just put it in the machine and shake it up and pour it out and you throw Japanese in the blender and turn it on and now it's an English smoothie. It doesn't work that way.
yeah, exactly.
And these people who are doing it are getting paid money to make sure that you can understand it. And just
Yeah,
because you happen to read the Viz version or whatever, I I don't know. It's just weird. I guess
yeah.
it's weird too because I guess in the grand scheme of things I don't care that much about it. But
Hmm.
it's just really frustrating because I see it with people like coming at these individual professionals
Hmm.
and it feels really bad and shitty to like come at, a woman who is paid $4 a day to write subs for Crunchyroll and she's, like being a subtitler for a fucking anime website is not exactly a glorious profession. And
Hmm.
she's probably doing the best she can with what she has. And
Hmm.
she's not sitting there twiddling, wringing her hands together like pre-evolution Itachi Uchiha, like, yes, I'm testing my power to wipe out anime. Like,
Yeah,
she's just
yeah,
doing her best and she's trying to get it done. And to spend such a weird amount of time like trying to find reasons to attack these people over this. There was some voice actor who I think people lit up not too long ago, and sometimes it's justified, but this time
yeah.
was
Hmm.
not. It might have been Deku's.
Was it Justin Briner?
I don't know. Maybe when I say not too long ago, I think I mean like a year and a half ago. But like,
Is it when he is it when he called Endeavor a piece of shit?
yes,
And people, yeah, okay,
yes,
yeah,
and I was like, what the fuck? Half of you think that? It's just
yeah,
weird because like sometimes I think it's justified. Like there was one voice actor, or maybe it was an actress. I don't remember who it was, but she went on this long tangent about how like if your anime is not available to you legally, you have no right to watch it. It means it was not intended for you. You do not get it. You do not just
mm-hmm,
get to watch it. And I'm like, fuck off. This is
mm-hmm,
cartoons that you're making move, and it's not even your work. Like they're just putting your voice over the like. Oh, that it really pissed me off because it was like it was so heavily like corporate. Like anime
yeah, yeah,
belongs to the people we say it belongs to, and you don't get any of it. And it's like, bitch, fuck off. The internet is
yeah,
here.
mm-hmm,
This
yeah, yeah,
this
of
is a
course,
connected world in 2020. So you can't
mm-hmm,
tell me that Spain doesn't get to get my dub. Only English speaking people in the United States and Canada may see my dub. Like fuck off.
I can't believe Funimation hates the entirety of Switzerland.
Right? Yeah, Funimation said Switzerland doesn't get to have anime. So
I
if you
mean,
watch anime, you're going to prison for 11 million years.
let's be real. Funimation is based in Texas. They probably don't know that Switzerland exists, and I
That
can't
is
blame them.
fair.
Oh
That
my
is fair.
god, this is like a huge tangent, but it's short.
It's
Did you
short.
watch the
We've
game?
been we've been tangenting for 45 minutes
Yes, but it's the last one because I need to cope with this.
because we haven't even done Boruto yet. But yes, go ahead.
Did you watch the Game Awards?
Only the Sephiroth reveal.
Okay. There was a scene. Well, there was a bit when the Swedish chef from the Muppets came on.
Wait, I did see that.
Yeah, I got swarmed with people like
I
tweeting that
remember
picture at
that. I
me.
saw people tweeting you about it. Like I'm
They're
not
like,
even Swedish.
I spent that entire evening just tweeting out, "I am not Swedish" in all caps, because people kept asking me, "Hey, what is he saying? Can you translate this?" I'm like, I don't speak Swedish.
Yeah, so many people were like, "How do you not know the difference between Swiss and Swedish?"
Like, dog, I am as far from Stockholm as I am from you.
Yeah, I remember
Like,
someone was like, "Hey, man, representation for you," and you're like, "I live 1,000 miles away from fucking Sweden."
like the thing is, right? It's gotten to the point I don't even know when people mean it seriously and when they joke, but a surprising amount of the time they are serious.
Yeah, well, it's that American education system, baby.
I mean, honestly, the first person who tweeted at me isn't even American, so
Oh no.
well, we are a tiny country. You could drive through us and not even realize, because driving through the entirety of Switzerland takes 3 hours.
Damn, that's
So
the size of my state.
hey man, I have 4 times the subs that my hometown has inhabitants. So
Yikes.
yeah,
Or maybe
I
that's
think
good. I don't know. Maybe that's not bad.
I can stage a coup. That's that's the extent of how good that is. But like, you know, uh, we have 7 million people living here. We're like 2 streets, a couple of cows, and a couple of mountains, and that's kind of it. So like, I don't mind if people forget that we exist, but I'm not fucking Swedish. I am not. I am not the chef, all right? But okay. Uh Dragon Ball.
It was good. It got Star Wars. It gave me some Star Wars vibes. It was the first time in a long time I've actually been kind of excited about the prospect of Super.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that's all going to go to shit here very soon. But
Yeah.
for right now, it was cool. The
Yeah.
granola raiding the ship was total like Star Wars vibes. I was like, this is sick. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
some big fight. He's just like raiding the ship and he's like taking out all the guards and stuff with his little finger gun. It was cool. And I'm
Yeah.
sure very soon it's just going to be scream power up martial arts with no consequences. But this
Mm-hmm.
chapter, other than the part I hated, was very cool.
Yeah. Uh I liked it a lot as well. I thought it was very cool that we got to see, because I like Dragon Ball when it shows me things that Dragon Ball hasn't shown before, and with space, you'd think we have a lot of opportunities for that. And this is one of those cases where like a spaceship raid is just something we haven't seen in Dragon Ball much, just because, past a certain point, by the time space became relevant, the powers were already so ridiculous that you couldn't have fights in the middle of space in a spaceship, right? Like,
Right, because you blow up the fucking spaceship.
exactly. Like Goku would clench his butt cheek and the Death Star explodes. But like, this was cool. I did cringe a bit when I realized the guy was called Granola and his
Yeah.
PC assistant is called Oatmeal.
Yeah, oh, oatmeal was even worse.
Yeah. It's like they're
Granola,
not even
apparently
trying.
Granola is the bad guy? Or it's like the Granola arc. I don't know if he's the bad guy, but it's called the Granola arc, which is the dumbest shit
Yeah.
I've ever heard. And people keep defending it, and they're like, everyone in Dragon Ball is named after food. Yeah, but not dumbass sounding food. No
Not all
matter
food
how
is
you
equal.
justify it, granola and oatmeal sound dumb as fuck.
I
Like is
mean,
his next assistant gonna be cornflakes? Like, that's food.
the main villain is just gonna be Kellogg's, the company.
It's gonna be corn pops. It's gonna be. It's gonna be his main henchman duo. Is gonna be Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles.
And they no, and then he has two other henchmen that are twins, and they're called M and M's.
They're the dark colored ones, and then they have a bright colored counterpart that's just called the Skittle Squad. Oh, what did someone tweeted some shit at me that was really funny? Oh yeah, it was like granola, bagel chip, breadstick, Chex Mix, and it was like the trail mix squad force. And it was like them all posing as the Ginyu Force, but it was just the different ingredients in trail mix.
Oh
Uh,
my god! Do you think they're ever gonna run out of foods though? Because
you have
eventually,
to already be out of food if you're using oatmeal and granola.
that is a very good point.
Everyone was like, kale is just a food, but like, kale sounds reasonable for a Dragon Ball name.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say
Maybe it's
so.
because kale is not like a household food item yet. I guess it's still like kind of a fringe food item.
Mm-hmm.
But like granola is like it just sounds dopey.
Yeah, like
Even
I
if
think
kale
also
is literally just a food, it doesn't sound stupid.
I think also the difference is that kale is the biological name of a food, whereas granola and oatmeal are technically corporate names. So,
Maybe,
it's
maybe.
like naming, it's the difference between naming one of your characters Chocolat and naming them Snickers, right?
Hershey's.
Yeah,
My henchman
exactly.
Hershey's.
And his special power, he gives deadly kisses. Uh, right. Do we want to then switch over to the other Dark
Oh,
Child?
God, do we have to? Because I hate it so much. Let's just. Before we even start, holy shit, that cover image.
I have to relook at it
Look at it.
because,
It's Kawaki, and he looks like he is on meth.
oh my god,
Look at it. Oh my God. It's
Jesus.
so bad.
Why
Like,
does this why does this man look like a SoundCloud rapper?
he does. He does. And
Jeez.
this is. I think his design in general sucks. But I
Hmm.
think it is a design that Kishimoto could maybe have pulled off.
Yeah.
But Ikemoto can't pull anything off.
Nope.
He looks like he just walked out of like a seedy crack house and he's got his hand in his pocket because he's holding his crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
He's.
looks awful. But anyway, Boruto happened and fuck, it was really bad and I hate it.
I'm gonna keep it real honest with you. I don't even understand what the fuck's happening anymore. I'm just here
So
to
let me give
complain
you
every
let me
month.
give you the breakdown.
Yeah.
So the evil Otsutsuki, fucking whatever you pronounce that shit,
Otsutsuki. Yeah.
that guy. He teleported Kawaki to him because he's like, I want to put my backup hard drive in your body because that's what we do apparently. Is we infect you with our our iCloud backups so that when we
Hmm.
die we can download ourselves into your body. So he
Hmm.
teleported Kawaki to him to put a new one on him because he's about to
Hmm.
die because Naruto gave him the lifespan beatdown technique.
Hmm.
And he's running out of time. And so the whole thing is them just trying to run away until he runs out of time.
Hmm.
And they actually do because he catches Kawaki right at the last second. Um, and then it turns out that Kawaki had learned Naruto's special Shadow Clone Jutsu, and so he tried to put a karma on him, but he actually put a karma just on a Shadow Clone, and he ran out of
Hmm.
time and he died. And
Okay.
then when he died, the Otsuki iCloud backup that was in Boruto took Boruto over and
Hmm.
knifed out Sasuke's Rinnegan because apparently nobody had ever thought to do that before right now.
Yes. Okay. I'm up to speed. The results are in. This shit stinks.
Shit's trash. It's so bad. So first of all, this has to be the way that Kishimoto is going to write Naruto and Sasuke out of the story, right?
Hmm.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And so the Boruto anime started out with that clip of what appeared to be a heroic Boruto fighting a possessed Kawaki.
Hmm.
But now we know that the guy who's going to possess Kawaki is dead, and now it's Boruto who's evil?
Hmm.
Are they flipping it? Is Boruto gonna get possessed and he gets saved by Kawaki? But then again, that was also like a huge time skip because they were
Hmm.
adults in that.
Yeah.
But all we know at this point is that Sasuke and Naruto at some point after that time skip are gone.
Hmm.
Implied to be maybe dead. We don't know.
Well, isn't the wording "I will send you where I sent
I
the
will send you
Hokage"?
where I sent the seventh. Yes. So some people are saying I'm gonna send you to hell. Other people are
Hmm.
saying I'm just gonna remove you to wherever Naruto is now. Um,
Malaysia,
yes, he teleported to Malaysia also. Uh,
Kuala Lumpur.
it's
Just
very
like.
possible that he's still alive. I don't know, but I'm
Hmm.
assuming because they did a whole thing where they're like, "Hey Naruto, I bet there's some drawback from that power that you did. Just tell us." And he's like, "Ah, you guys." And they don't get to finish the conversation before Boruto knifes out the Rinnegan in Sasuke's eye.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, some people on Twitter, I think it was Zahal, who was like, "I'm pretty sure that's a genjutsu and it didn't really happen." And I'm like, "No, bro, that shit happened." Uh, and yes, it did really happen. All of the characters watched it happen. Um,
Hmm.
it's real. And so I'm guessing that Sasuke losing the Rinnegan is going to make him no longer a feasibly capable fighter for the level of
Mhm.
fights that we're talking about. Because all he's going to have now is one eye, and it's just a Sharingan. It's a Mangekyo,
Mhm.
but still.
Mhm.
And then Naruto is going to be unable to fight for either at all or over prolonged periods because of him using Baryon mode.
Mhm.
And I am
Okay.
guessing that is how they're going to remove Naruto and Sasuke from being the fix everything buttons they have been up to this point.
Okay. This is so dumb.
It's extremely dumb.
Why didn't they just why, why did we need a sequel? Like just
Yeah, well, first
clearly
of all, we don't need any of this. This is all so irrelevant. But like, don't you
yeah,
think that characters like a character as legendary as Sasuke Uchiha kind of deserves to not get his special eye that he gave up his whole life to get like cut out of his brain
by a child.
by a fucking idiot child?
Like honestly, I feel like at this point I'm just gonna be repeating myself from like every other week. Like
It's just weird to see Super and be like kind of hopeful and be like,
uh-huh.
this is an exciting new direction, and I'm very happy for what comes next. And then to read Boruto and be like, I want Shonen Jump to stop printing manga.
Like I, it's gotten to the point where I can't hear about Boruto without getting angry. It's like, man,
I just don't fucking. First of all, they knew that Boruto had an iCloud backup in him already.
uh-huh.
So why no one was like potentially, and I'm sure there's some, they're tired. They just fought the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Sasuke couldn't have moved. He just jumped right in his face, straight ahead,
Mm-hmm.
horizontally. I don't know. I hate everything.
Yeah, like what?
And we know for a fact that Boruto is not just going to be evil for the next like 10 years or however long the time skip is.
Mm-hmm.
So all they're going to do with this is like Boruto's going to get control back for a little bit and they're going to do whatever and they're going to go back to Konoha and they're going to have a bunch of chapters of them sitting around a fucking boardroom talking about what
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do next
Mm-hmm.
to get the iCloud backup out of Boruto.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't give a shit about that. I didn't give a shit about any of it before this, really,
Yeah.
but this is getting excessive because now you've hit
Yeah.
the point where you're like punishing these storied characters who are great and went through so much to get to where they are for the sake
Mm-hmm.
of drama for this little shithead child that I hate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, what I really don't even know what to say anymore. Like at this point, Boruto has passed the point of me even being able, like, be actively disappointed. Because I mean, that point was reached the moment it was created. So yeah, Boruto stays in character, shooting my dead dog called Naruto for the 100th time in the last. Oh God, it's been 6 years. 6 years, and we're just gonna have to keep watching them do that until they run out of bullets, which they won't because they keep printing money and money buys bullets. This metaphor kind of fell apart, but you know what I mean.
It's close enough. I don't get the problem, I guess, is that like as much as I shit on Naruto, I do really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And these are characters who have like really complete arcs and like they earned their ending, you know?
Uh-huh.
Like they deserve where they are. Just to find out that like Naruto is just a jaded old man who doesn't really like being the Hokage that much because it
Mm-hmm.
sucks and it's a lot of bureaucracy and he
Mm-hmm.
neglects his wife and children over
Mm-hmm.
looking at the 16-year-old Naruto getting praised by the village after fighting pain and then
Mm-hmm.
looking at jaded old man Naruto who has no time for his family is the
Mm-hmm.
most painful thing, and not in a good way. Not in a
Yeah.
wow, what a great narrative way, but in a what the fuck are you doing to these great characters way.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
we have their weird generation, like mixed match children of like, Sarada is Sasuke, but with or is Sakura, but with a Sharingan, and
Mm-hmm.
Boruto is just Naruto again, but a
Yeah.
dick in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't like any of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they almost feel like I should care. They like the author thinks I should care about them just because they are the children of characters that I do care about.
Yeah. They're like,
Boruto
this
has
is the
done
Naruto brand.
nothing to make anyone like him. Me especially. I fucking hate him.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the story wants me to give a shit about him just because I gave a shit about Naruto as a character.
Yeah. I mean, it's just branding, right? It's like, oh, this is the next character in Naruto.
This is the
You
Coke
like the
Zero to Naruto's Coke.
Yeah, right? It's just it's so unfortunate how this entire situation has panned out, and I want to say I hope it gets cancelled, but clearly people are enjoying it. Like some people are. I see people praising it on my timeline whenever I forget to mute them. Um, so like, I guess this is just gonna keep happening, and I'm gonna keep being a sad little boy. What can we do, really? Like the
Yeah, it
Boruto
almost feels
sucks.
pointless to rail against the machine because the machine is more powerful than us. So what are we
Yeah,
gonna do?
exactly.
We're we're uh we're Yuji in the last Jujutsu Kaisen chapter, and Boruto is Geto.
Oh my god.
There's nothing
Oh,
we can do.
oh no. You're
And,
giving me
and and the
ideas.
prison realm is our self-respect when it comes to liking Naruto. Give it
So
back.
the two of us are like collectively Yuji. Is that what I'm feeling here?
Yes, yes. We're both
With
Yuji screaming at Geto, who is Boruto, to give us back our ability to like Naruto. And he won't do it.
well, I certainly want someone to have like a clip ready of you saying that because that is probably the most like ass backwards sentence I've ever heard anyone say.
What do you mean?
It's so abstract. Like, oh yeah, bro, we are Yuji and Boruto is Geto, bro.
Trust me, it works out.
Bro, trust me.
It works out.
All right. Do we want to? What else do we talk about?
Nothing. It sucked. I don't want to talk about Boruto anymore.
Okay. Okay. Do we want to do a very quick thing on Build King since I feel like we both have the same opinion on it this week?
If we have to, I skimmed it. I started reading it, and then I was like, I'm not reading this, and then I skimmed
Yeah,
it.
I looked at the first couple of pages and I was like, no. And when you texted me just the one page with the caption "Dear God in Heaven," I knew we were on the same wavelength here. So yeah.
It's just like, what in the hell? The one page I sent you
Uh-huh.
has like what, 6 meaningful panels, and it
Uh-huh.
has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 speech bubbles
Mm-hmm.
for 6 panels.
Jesus Christ.
And almost all of them are like not that important.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's just so wordy. It's so long-winded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I
And then
don't I
there's
don't
another
think I'm
one
gonna
that's 16, and it has
Mhm.
6 panels.
Like that's like three that's like three or two speech bubbles.
It
No,
is
wait.
at minimum 3 per panel.
Yeah, right? Fuck.
Uh-huh.
Like yeah, like I'm gonna be completely honest, I'm probably not gonna keep reading this.
I
Like
don't think I think I'm gonna let it breathe for a little bit, and then if it gets
Mhm.
good, like Undead Unluck style, I'll catch back up.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can keep pretending to care about this every week.
Yeah, because the problem with this is compared to Undead Unluck, right? With Undead Unluck, the thing that was holding it back was a content problem, which content is relatively fluctuating, that can change very quickly. You just move on to a different plot point. But the problem with bilking is straight up just a structural issue. Like not even like a story structural issue, just a issue
Yeah,
in
a
how
physical presentation.
yeah.
That's the
And
problem.
and those tend to be more like salient. They stick around a bit longer. Because then the author doesn't have to change what he's doing, he has to change how he's doing it. And that is usually a bit more of an arduous process. So we'll see. But as of right now, yeah, I'm not gonna read next chapter. I didn't even read this chapter really, so it's a shame, but I suppose it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just so much like there's so much text and like it's never valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Like generally I'm a proponent of show me, don't tell me if you can do that. But not only is there so much text in Build King, but it doesn't even feel like I needed it to get the point
Mm-hmm.
across. So it's just
Okay.
taking up space for no reason. And
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
about you, but when I flick to a page that has like 4 panels in it, but
Mm-hmm.
20 speech bubbles, my brain shuts off.
Yeah,
Like
I
my
feel that
immediate
heavy.
reaction is like, no.
Yeah, yeah. Like I need to read 20 books for university right now. If I go on my stupid kids cartoon app and a page is 90% text, I will respectfully decline. Like,
Yeah, well, it's
I'm
like,
sorry.
plus, it's like, I'm not going to remember this because
Yeah, I'm
there's
not going to
so
retain it.
much information I have to retain, but all of it is not important. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like eating a giant bag of fluff. Like I'm getting overloaded by the amount of text that you're giving me, and none of it is valuable, and none of it has any meaning to it. It's just like shitty, overly long explanations for things. It's another chapter where, like, every time he wants to get a point across that could be a sentence and a half, he chooses to make it in 6 sentences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's bad. I don't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, nothing
I'm
much
really
to
sad
say.
about it because I really wanted to like it, and the one shot was so good, and I don't
Guess
like the series.
guess between the one shot and the series, he really found his voice, and that voice just never shuts the
It
fuck up.
never fucking stops talking.
Yeah. Uh, is that it? Do we have anything else?
I think so. Dr. Stone was
Yeah.
good, but you haven't kept up with that, so you need to get the shit on that.
Man,
Get on
I
it.
just got I just got out of exams.
Perfect
I,
time to read about science.
I came out from one stoning and now I'm getting stoned on the air for not
Uh,
watching and reading Doctor Stone.
yes, right
Man.
now you need to read. Fucking, I better see a bunch of comments telling you to read this. Sakamoto Days is
Oh
still
god.
pretty cool, but it's only 5 chapters
Yeah.
in, so.
Yeah, Sakamoto Days is cool. It's one of those other things that I kind of read with my brain turned off. I'm just like, oh, that's the funny man is
Yeah,
doing
it's
things.
just a funny fat man beating people up, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. Uh, that's kind of it. I don't think I keep up with anything else.
Yeah, Yozakura Family was cute this week. It's another one that's got like a little cute romance in it, and I'm like, oh, every time they hug, it makes me happy.
Aw.
Um, Magu-chan was oddly like ominous this week
Oh, really?
because so obviously he's like a god, right? He's like an evil god,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was supposed to be a heartwarming moment of like he's helping her because they're friends, but it kind of reads like she just made a deal with a demon.
Oh.
Because she wants to see her mom. Her mom lives somewhere else, and she's only like in middle school, so she doesn't ever see her parents. She lives alone, despite being like 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person she lives with now is the tiny demon god.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom's coming to visit for Christmas, and there's a horrible freak snowstorm, and the mom can't come, and so she's
Mm-hmm.
devastated.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's at the point where she's going to try to walk to the train station that she's stuck at on her own in a blizzard, where she's almost certainly going to die.
Mm-hmm.
And the little demon god tells her not to, and says that you're being stupid, blah blah blah, but you aren't a selfish enough person, and you need to wish for more things for yourself. So make a prayer to me and give me an offering, and I will do it for you. And so she
Mm-hmm.
actually does give him something and says that she wants to see her mom. so he melts all the snow and everything. And I think like it was supposed to read as like, oh, that's so cute, but to me it just reads like, oh my god, she's making a deal with this ancient demon.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, it
that's
was.
certainly interesting.
Yeah, it was surprisingly interesting for what up to this point has mostly been a pretty cute gag manga.
Hmm.
And Phantom Seer, it's only 17 chapters, so if you won't catch up to Doctor Stone, you should read that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff about it, and it's drawn by the guy who did Tokyo Shinobi Squad, so I
Hmm.
can read it while having intense PTSD to that. Uh,
Yeah, I mean it's a lot darker than I thought it was going to be.
mhm.
It's pretty interesting, and it was a lot of implied darkness up to this point, where it's been like bad stuff happens off screen, and then we
Mhm.
fight monsters. But this chapter has like a full-on Mahito moment
Mhm.
where there's this girl who's like partially a monster because there's like the monsters in this are called phantoms, right?
Yeah.
And there's this girl who is like partially one. She got like semi mutated into one because she
Mhm.
wanted to impress the main character because she's in love with him, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. And so she kind of likes it. Basically, she just gets like a kitty tail, and she gets
Okay.
claws.
Okay.
Well, she gets caught by the bad guy.
And then turned into like some weird monster.
Yes, but he turns her into a weird monster by shoving a bunch of tiny hands through her back and out her stomach.
Ah.
And so literally she's like her like intestines are hanging out and he's like mutating her and she goes from being a kitty girl into like this horrific demon looking thing with a mutated human face that just screams.
Ah.
It just screams all the time.
Nice. So it's like the dog from Full Metal, but you get to see the process.
Yes. It's a lot like that, except also it can kill you.
Okay, that. Okay, I
So
guess I'm
now they're
reading that.
fighting her horrible monster form, and it's actually super fucked up. And it's good. I like it.
Well, great. I guess I know what I'm reading.
Yes, I think you will enjoy it.
Good. I'm happy when I enjoy things. Don't
Yes,
know if you knew that.
read this and wash Boruto out of your mouth with this.
Zen. Nothing's ever gonna wash Boruto out of my mouth.
I know it's a curse you'll never live. I like to think that somewhere like on an arm or something you have like a growth that just looks like Boruto's head. And it's just like an ulcer that has come about through your intense hatred of Boruto that you just can't get rid of.
I do have like a little skin flap on my face, and I swear to God, it's gotten worse since 2014, which is when Boruto started.
You have one of those conjoined twins that's like stuck on your back, but all he reads is Boruto. It's the only manga he likes.
Oh no. I have like a face sticking out of my neck that just says Databayo in a like really broken voice.
You
This
wake
is
up and
turned
roll over, and he's got a physical Boruto volume on your neck that he's reading.
but you can only read out loud, so I have to hear what's happening. Oh, this turned very dark very quickly.
Oh god. All right, I think I'm done after that Phantom
Yeah.
Seer praise. I always get called out in
Okay.
the comments for not praising Phantom Seer, and I do like it a lot. So there you go, guy.
Also, wait, you need to tell me one more time to read Dr. Stone, so that one guy who keeps commenting that under every episode is happy.
Yeah, catch up with Dr. Stone, god damn it.
I will eventually.
Yeah, that dude's always like, I can't believe you guys never talk about Dr. Stone. And I'm like, I'm trying. I'm doing my best. It's not my fault.
It's not Zen's fault I suck, okay?
It's not my fault. I'm trying. I like Dr. Stone, damn it. I'm trying.
Weren't you literally like the Dr. Stone hive leader for a while?
Yeah, I think I was like the only person shilling Dr. Stone for a long time.
All right. If there's nothing else, I think this is probably the place where we end it.
Yeah, I think this is a good a stopping place as any. We have not hit 2.5 hours yet, so maybe we can stave that off. Thank you everybody for watching. As always, we appreciate it. And we will see you. I think we are planning an episode next week, even though there is no new jump, just because don't ruin the schedule. That's my motto.
Yeah, we can make it like a special episode. We'll see.
We'll talk about stuff. So we will see you guys next time.
Yep. Have happy holidays and see you around.
Oh yeah, happy holidays. It's fucking holidays. I didn't say anything. I feel like a jerk. Bye.